Hello everyone, I'm Monoscaling here to guide you today. If you use this video to drift off to sleep, please tap like, hit subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now settle in, get cozy, and let yourself relax. Story 1. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm writing this from a hospital room in Cedar City, Utah, 3 days after we left Lake Powell. The ranger found us, what was left of us, on the eastern shore near Lone Rock Beach. He said we'd been missing for 6 days, but that can't be right. We were only out there for 3 nights. Josh died yesterday morning. The doctor said it was a brain hemorrhage, but I know what really happened. I watched him change. I watched what he became. Let me start from the beginning. We'd planned the trip for months, 4 college friends reuniting after 5 years of scattered lives. Me, Josh Brennan, Alicia Torres, and Kevin Marsh. Josh had bought an RV the previous summer, a beat-up 1987 Winnebago Chieftain he'd restored himself, and he'd been dying to take it on a proper trip. Lake Powell seemed perfect. Massive reservoir, plenty of camping spots, good weather in late September. The drive from Phoenix took about 6 hours. Josh drove while Kevin rode shotgun, reading aloud from some conspiracy podcast transcript. Alicia and I sat in the back, catching up on the years we'd missed. She'd gotten engaged the previous spring, then called it off 3 months later. She didn't want to talk about it, which was fine. I'd been through my own divorce the year before. Some wounds take time. We arrived at Lone Rock Beach around 4 in the afternoon. The place was less crowded than I'd expected. Maybe a dozen other RVs and campers scattered across the red sand, with the massive butte rising up from the shoreline like a cathedral. The water stretched out forever, impossibly blue against the rust-colored rocks. Josh parked near the eastern edge of the camping area, away from the other vehicles. He wanted privacy, he said, space to really relax without hearing other people's generators or music. Kevin complained about the walk to the bathrooms, but Josh waved him off. That first evening went exactly as planned. We set up camp chairs in the sand, cracked open some beers, watched the sun set over the water. The temperature dropped fast once the sun went down. Desert nights always do. And we built a small fire in one of those portable fire pits Josh had brought along. Alicia made pasta on the RV's propane stove while Kevin told increasingly elaborate stories about his job at some tech startup. Josh and I mostly listened, occasionally interjecting with sarcastic comments. It felt good. Normal, like the years hadn't passed at all. Around midnight, Josh decided he wanted to take a walk along the shoreline. He'd been drinking steadily all evening, nothing unusual for Josh, and he had that restless energy he got when he'd had a few too many. Kevin had already passed out in the RV's fold-out bed. Alicia was reading on her phone. I was tired but agreed to go with him anyway. We walked east, away from the other campers. The moon was nearly full, bright enough to cast shadows. The sand crunched under our feet, still warm from the day's heat. Josh talked about his job as a construction foreman, how he was thinking about starting his own contracting business. He'd saved up some money, had some connections. It sounded like a good plan. We must have walked for 20 minutes before Josh stopped and pointed toward the base of some cliffs that rose up from the beach. "What's that?" he said. At first I didn't see anything, just rocks and shadows. Then I noticed the darker patch among the boulders, a gap that looked like it might be a cave or alcove. Josh was already walking toward it before I could say anything. "Come on, man," I said. "It's late. We should head back." "Just want to check it out," he said. "Could be cool." I followed him because that's what you do. You don't let your friend wander off drunk in the dark. The gap turned out to be bigger than it looked from a distance. A proper cave entrance, maybe 6 feet high and just as wide, cutting back into the cliff face. Josh pulled out his phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam showed rough stone walls disappearing into darkness. "We're not going in there," I said. "Just a quick look." He stepped inside before I could stop him. I stood at the entrance debating whether to follow or wait. Then I heard him swear, followed by a sound I couldn't quite identify. A rustling, maybe, or scraping. "Josh," I called. He came stumbling out a moment later, clutching his forearm. Even in the moonlight, I could see the blood running between his fingers. "Something bit me," he said. His voice had an edge I'd never heard before. Not quite fear, but close. I grabbed his arm and turned on my own phone light. The wound was on the inside of his forearm, just below the elbow. 2 parallel gashes, maybe 1.5 inches long each, ragged at the edges. Not deep, but bleeding steadily. "What the hell was it?" I asked. "I don't know." I reached out to touch the wall and something just grabbed me. I didn't see it. We hurried back to the RV. Alicia was still awake, and she helped me clean the wound with water from our bottles and some first aid supplies Josh had packed. The gashes didn't look infected, just torn skin. We wrapped it in gauze and medical tape. Josh said it stung but wasn't too bad. He took some ibuprofen and we all went to bed. That was Friday night. Saturday started normal. Josh complained about his arm hurting, but when we checked the bandage, the wound looked fine. Clean edges, no redness or swelling. Alicia said she'd been a veterinary tech before switching careers, and she knew what infected wounds looked like. This wasn't one. We spent the morning on the lake. Josh had brought an inflatable kayak that we took turns paddling around. The water was cold, but beautiful, that peculiar turquoise color you only see in desert reservoirs. Kevin caught a small bass from shore and insisted on keeping it even though we had no way to cook it properly. Eventually, Alicia convinced him to throw it back. Around noon, I noticed Josh wasn't eating. We'd brought sub sandwiches from a gas station and he just sat there staring at his, occasionally picking at the bread but not taking a bite. "You feeling okay?" I asked. "Yeah, just not hungry." By mid-afternoon, he'd started complaining about the sun. He'd always been the type to bake in the heat for hours without complaint, but now he kept retreating to the shade of the RV's awning, saying the light hurt his eyes. We figured it was a hangover even though he hadn't drunk that much the night before. That evening, we noticed the smell. Kevin brought it up first. "Dude, did something die in the RV?" We searched the entire vehicle but found nothing. The smell was faint but persistent, like spoiled meat left in a warm room. Eventually, we tracked it to Josh. He insisted he'd showered that morning and I'd seen him do it at the bathhouse, but the smell clung to him anyway. Not overwhelming, but noticeable if you got close. "Maybe the wound's infected after all," Alicia said. She unwrapped the bandage and we all looked. The gashes had scabbed over, dark brown crusts with yellowish edges. The skin around them looked pale, almost waxy. When she pressed gently on the area, Josh didn't react. "Does that hurt?" she asked. "I can't feel it," he said. "The whole area's numb." We rewrapped it with fresh gauze. I suggested we should probably drive back to civilization and get him to a doctor, but Josh refused. He said he felt fine aside from the numbness. The trip was only 3 days long. He didn't want to cut it short over nothing. That night, I woke up around 2 in the morning to use the bathroom. The RV's interior was dim, just the faint glow of moonlight through the windows. I was climbing down from the overhead sleeping compartment when I noticed Josh wasn't in his bed. I found him outside standing near the fire pit. His back was to me. He was completely still, arms hanging at his sides, head tilted slightly back like he was looking at the stars. "Josh," I said quietly. He didn't respond. I walked closer. "You okay, man?" Still nothing. I reached out to touch his shoulder, and the moment my fingers made contact, he spun around so fast I stumbled backward. His face was wrong. Not dramatically wrong, not monster movie wrong, just off. His eyes were wider than they should be. His mouth hung open slightly. His expression was blank. Then he smiled. Not a normal smile. Too wide. Too many teeth showing. The kind of smile that doesn't reach the eyes. "I'm fine," he said. His voice sounded normal, but there was something mechanical about it. Like he was reading lines. "Just getting some air. You scared the shit out of me. Sorry." Still that smile. "Going back to bed now." He walked past me and climbed into the RV. I stood there in the cold air for a few minutes trying to shake off the unease. Then I went to the bathhouse, did my business, and came back. Josh was in his bed, covers pulled up, facing the wall. I climbed back to my spot and tried to sleep. Sunday morning, Josh didn't get out of bed. Kevin tried to wake him around 9. Josh just lay there, eyes open, staring at the RV's ceiling. He blinked occasionally but didn't respond to questions or prodding. Alicia checked his pulse and said it was slow but steady. His skin felt cool to the touch. "Should we call an ambulance?" Kevin asked. "There's no cell service out here," I said. "We'd have to drive to the marina." We debated for 20 minutes. Josh's eyes tracked movement, following us as we walked around the RV, but he didn't speak or move. Eventually, he sat up on his own, swung his legs over the side of the bed and stood. "I'm okay," he said. Same mechanical tone from the night before. "Just tired?" "Josh, you're freaking us out," Alicia said. "We need to get you to a doctor." "I'm fine." He walked to the RV's small kitchen area and opened the refrigerator. He stood there for a moment, looking at the contents. Then he grabbed a package of raw ground beef we'd brought for burgers. He opened it and took a bite. Kevin made a disgusted sound. Alicia said, "Josh, what the fuck?" Josh chewed slowly, swallowed, took another bite. His expression never changed. When he'd finished about half the package, he put the rest back in the fridge and wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Hungry," he said. That's when I knew something was deeply wrong. Josh had been a vegetarian since sophomore year of college. Some ethical thing after watching a documentary. He'd stuck to it religiously for 7 years. "Okay," I said, keeping my voice calm. "We're leaving. Pack your stuff." "Don't want to leave," Josh said. "Like it here. You just ate raw meat, man. We're getting you to a hospital." For a moment I thought he might argue. Instead, he just smiled again. That same too wide smile. "Okay." We packed quickly. Kevin and I took down the awning and put away the chairs while Alicia secured everything inside the RV. Josh sat in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead, occasionally tilting his head at odd angles like he was listening to something. I drove. Kevin sat in back with Alicia. We'd made it maybe 3 miles down the dirt access road when Josh spoke up. "Stop the RV." "Not happening," I said. "Stop the RV." Each word came out clipped, emphatic. When I glanced at him, his head was turned toward me, but he wasn't quite looking at my face. He was staring at my neck. "Josh, we're getting you help. Just hang in there." He lunged. I barely had time to react. 1 second he was sitting there, the next his hands were around my throat and we were swerving off the road. Kevin shouted something. Alicia screamed. I slammed on the brakes and we skidded to a stop in a cloud of dust. Josh's grip was impossibly strong. His face was inches from mine, and his breath smelled like rot and copper. The whites of his eyes had a yellowish tint. I couldn't breathe. I clawed at his hands, but he didn't seem to notice. Then Kevin hit him with something. I found out later it was a metal thermos, and Josh let go. I gasped and coughed while Kevin and Alicia dragged Josh away from me, pinning him against the side of the RV. "Jesus Christ," Kevin kept saying. "Jesus Christ, Josh, what the fuck?" Josh wasn't struggling. He'd gone limp in their grip, head lolling to one side. Then he started laughing, low and wet, like something was caught in his throat. "Can't leave," he said between laughs. "Can't leave." We zip-tied his hands together with some straps Josh had brought for securing cargo. Alicia found some rope and we tied his ankles too. He didn't resist, just kept laughing until Alicia told him to shut up, and then he did, instantly, like someone had flipped a switch. I drove slower after that. My hands were shaking. My throat hurt where Josh had grabbed me. In the rearview mirror, I could see him sitting on the floor of the RV, back against the cabinet, head tilted at that weird angle again. His lips were moving, but no sound was coming out. We made it another 5 miles before the RV's engine started making a grinding noise. Then smoke began pouring from under the hood. I pulled over and killed the ignition. Kevin got out to check. I stayed in the driver's seat, watching Josh in the mirror. Alicia sat as far from him as possible, phone in hand even though there was no signal. "Marcus," Kevin called from outside, "you need to see this." The engine compartment was a mess. Wires had been torn loose, pulled out in chunks. The battery terminals were corroded beyond recognition, covered in some kind of white crystalline growth. Several hoses had been cut clean through. "Did Josh do this?" Kevin asked. "How could he? We were watching him the whole time." "Then who?" A sound cut him off. Not quite a scream, but close. It came from inside the RV, where we'd left Alicia alone with Josh. We ran back. The door was open. Alicia was standing in the doorway, eyes wide. "He got loose," she said. The zip ties lay on the floor, snapped. The rope had been chewed through. And Josh was gone. We found him an hour later. He was half a mile from the RV, standing in the middle of the dirt road. Just standing there, perfectly still. We approached slowly, Kevin holding a tire iron, me with a heavy maglite flashlight. Alicia stayed back. "Josh," I called. "We need to talk, man." He turned to face us. The left side of his face was twitching, small, rapid spasms that rippled across his cheek. When he smiled this time, I saw that his teeth had changed. The canines were longer, sharper. Or maybe they'd always been that way and I'd never noticed. "Not Josh anymore," he said. The voice was still his, but the cadence was wrong. "Josh is sleeping. I'm awake now." "Who are you?" Kevin asked. "I am the hollow. I am the hunger. I am the thing that waits in dark places." He took a step toward us. "I've been waiting so long. So very long. And now I'm free." Kevin raised the tire iron. "Stay back." Josh, or whatever was wearing Josh's face, Wayne laughed. "You can't stop it. The change is already happening. By tomorrow, I'll be strong enough. Then I'll visit the others." He gestured vaguely toward where the camping area was, miles behind us. So many warm bodies, so much blood. He ran, not toward us, away, deeper into the desert, moving with a loping gait that wasn't quite right, too fast, joints bending in wrong directions. We chased him for maybe 50 yards before losing sight of him behind a cluster of boulders. We searched until sunset, no sign of him. The desert swallowed him up. We walked back to the RV and tried to figure out what to do. The vehicle was dead. Our phones had no signal. The nearest marina with a ranger station was at least 15 miles away. We had water and some food, but not much. "We hike out in the morning," I said. "First light." "What about Josh?" Alicia asked. Nobody had an answer for that. We spent that night taking turns on watch. I took the first shift, sitting outside the RV with the mag light and Kevin's tire iron. The desert was quiet except for the wind. Around 3 a.m. I heard footsteps in the sand. I turned on the flashlight. Josh stood at the edge of the beam's reach, maybe 30 feet away. He was naked. The bandage on his arm was gone, and I could see the wound. It had spread, dark veins radiating from the bite site across his entire arm and up toward his shoulder. His skin had taken on a grayish tint. "Marcus," he said. This time his voice sounded normal, desperate. "Marcus, help me. I can't control it. It's eating me from the inside, please." "Josh?" I stood up slowly. "Is that really you?" "It comes in waves. Right now, I'm me, but it's getting harder to stay me. You have to kill me, before it takes over completely." "I can't do that." "You have to. It's going to use me to hurt people. I can feel it planning, thinking, it wants to spread. Please, Marcus, I'm begging you." I took a step forward. He held up his hand. "Don't come closer. I might not be me when you reach me. Just promise me you'll try. If you get a chance. Promise me." "I promise." He nodded. Then his expression changed again, that blank look sliding back over his features. He turned and walked away into the darkness. I didn't follow. At dawn we started hiking. We made it about 6 miles before we ran into the ranger's truck coming toward us. Someone at the marina had reported seeing our abandoned RV. They'd sent someone to check it out. The ranger was a woman named Hernandez. Middle-aged, competent, professional, she radioed for backup and medical assistance while we told her a heavily edited version of what happened. Friend got sick, bit by something in a cave, changed somehow, ran off into the desert. We thought he might be having a psychotic break. We didn't mention the voice changes or the torn engine or what he'd said about being something else. Who would believe that? More rangers arrived, then paramedics. They checked us over, treated my throat bruises and some dehydration. They sent a search team into the desert to look for Josh. They found him on Tuesday morning, 2 days later. He was in a narrow canyon about 8 miles from where we'd last seen him. According to Hernandez, who came to tell us at the hospital, he was conscious but unresponsive. His vital signs were abnormal. They'd sedated him for transport. They brought him to the same hospital where they'd taken us, Cedar Valley Regional Medical Center. They put him in isolation while they ran tests. I wasn't allowed to see him, but Hernandez told me the doctors were baffled. His blood work showed abnormalities they couldn't explain. His brain scans revealed unusual activity patterns, and the wound on his arm had developed into something that looked almost like a fungal infection, but didn't match any known fungal species. On Wednesday morning, I woke up to alarms, code blue in Josh's room. I watched through the door's window as doctors and nurses rushed around. They worked on him for 20 minutes before calling it. The official cause of death was listed as catastrophic brain hemorrhage, but one of the nurses I talked to later said it was like his brain had liquefied, just dissolved into organic soup. They wouldn't let me see the body. They released me from the hospital yesterday. Kevin and Alicia are already gone back to their respective cities. The Rangers are treating the whole thing as a tragic accident. Friend gets bitten by something in a cave, develops a rare infection, has some kind of psychotic episode, dies from complications. It makes sense if you don't think about it too hard, but I think about it all the time. I think about what Josh said, about being the hollow, the hunger, the thing that waits in dark places. I think about how he said the change was happening, that he'd be strong enough tomorrow to visit the others. Josh died on Wednesday. That means he never got strong enough. Whatever that thing was, it died with him, unless it didn't. Last night I had a dream. I was back at Lake Powell, standing in front of that cave. The entrance was different, though, wider, deeper, and I could hear something inside, breathing, waiting. In the dream, I walked into the cave. I walked until the light from outside disappeared completely. And then something reached out and touched my arm. I woke up sweating. I turned on every light in the hotel room and checked my arms, my legs, everywhere I could see. No bites, no marks, nothing. But I can't shake the feeling that I brought something back with me. Some tiny piece of whatever infected Josh. And it's waiting, patient, for the right moment to wake up. Or maybe I'm just traumatized. Maybe the whole thing was exactly what the Rangers said, a rare infection that caused a psychotic break. Maybe Josh really did die from natural complications, and I'm inventing supernatural explanations because I can't accept that my friend is gone. I don't know which possibility scares me more. What I do know is this: I've started avoiding dark places. I check my skin obsessively for any marks or changes. I sleep with the lights on. And sometimes late at night I catch myself standing in front of the mirror, tilting my head at odd angles, and I have to force myself to stop. The doctors want me to see a therapist. They think I'm suffering from PTSD. They're probably right, but therapy can't help with what I'm really afraid of. Because sometimes when I look in the mirror I see something behind my eyes, something that's not quite me, something that's waiting. And yesterday morning, I woke up hungry, really hungry. I made breakfast, eggs and toast. But when I sat down to eat, I couldn't. The food looked wrong, smelled wrong. I ended up throwing it away. What I wanted, what I really wanted, was in the refrigerator. The leftover steak from 2 nights ago. Still pink in the middle, still red. I ate it cold. I ate all of it, and when I was done, I looked down at my hands and realized I couldn't remember eating it. Couldn't remember the taste or the texture or anything. Just that I'd been hungry, and now I wasn't. I'm writing this down while I still can, while I'm still me, because I'm starting to understand what Josh meant about the waves, about it coming and going. Right now, I'm Marcus Webb. I'm 32 years old. I work as an accountant in Phoenix. I have a sister in Portland and parents in Michigan. I like baseball and craft beer and science fiction novels. But tonight, or tomorrow, or the day after, I might be something else. And if that happens, I need someone to know. Someone has to understand what's coming. Don't go into the caves near Lone Rock Beach. Don't touch anything in the darkness. And if someone you know gets bitten by something they can't see, don't wait. Don't hope it gets better. Don't tell yourself it's probably nothing. End it fast, before the change completes, before they become hollow, before they become hungry. My arm itches right below the elbow on the inside. There's nothing there when I look. No marks, no bites, just pale skin. But it itches and I'm so very hungry. Story 2. My name is Daniel Harris and I need to write this down while I can still remember who I am. We arrived at Capitol Reef National Park on a Wednesday afternoon in late September. The RV park sat just outside the official boundaries, a privately owned stretch of red dirt and scattered juniper trees that catered to tourists who wanted proximity to the park without dealing with the reservation lottery. My wife Jessica had booked it 3 months in advance. Our friends Mike and Teresa were supposed to meet us there with their camper van. The drive from Denver had taken longer than expected. Jessica kept checking her phone even though she knew service would be spotty once we got into southern Utah. She worked remotely as a project manager for a tech company, and leaving her laptop behind had made her anxious. I'd convinced her this trip would be good for us. We'd been married 6 years and hadn't taken a real vacation in 3. How much further? She asked as we passed through Torrey. Maybe 20 minutes. I adjusted the side mirror. The RV was a rental, a 30-foot Class C that handled like a bus. Mike texted an hour ago. They're already set up. The landscape outside shifted from high desert scrub to the layered sedimentary rock formations that gave Capitol Reef its name. Massive domes of white sandstone rose against the blue sky, striped with bands of red and orange. Jessica put her phone down and actually looked out the window. "It's beautiful," she said. The campground appeared suddenly, marked by a wooden sign that said Red Rock RV Sites. A dirt road branched off the highway and wound between junipers and sage. The office was a single-wide trailer with a hand-painted check-in here sign. I pulled up beside it and killed the engine. Inside, an old man sat behind a desk covered in maps and brochures. He looked up when the door opened. His eyes were very pale, almost colorless. "Reservation under Harris," I said. He didn't reach for a computer or a ledger. "Site 7. Follow the road to the back. Your friends are in Site 6. Do you need my ID or credit card?" "Already paid online." He turned back to whatever he'd been reading. "Gate code is 4739. Locks at 10 p.m. The sites were spread out more than I'd expected. We drove past a handful of RVs and trailers, most of them expensive-looking rigs with solar panels and satellite dishes. Site 6 held Mike's restored Vanagon, painted sky blue with white racing stripes. I could see him through the open side door, organizing gear. Site 7 was identical to the others. A gravel pad, a picnic table, a fire ring, and electrical and water hookups. A juniper tree provided minimal shade. The sites formed a rough circle around a central area that might have been intended as a communal space, but was just dirt and scattered rocks. It took 40 minutes to level the RV and get everything connected. By the time I finished, Mike had walked over with 2 beers. "This place is perfect," he said, handing me one. "Teresa's already planning tomorrow's hike." Mike was my college roommate, one of those perpetually optimistic people who approached every situation with enthusiasm. He worked in sales and made twice what I did teaching high school history. Teresa taught yoga and made her own kombucha. They were good people, even if their happiness sometimes felt exhausting. Jessica emerged from the RV with a map. The ranger station closes at 5. We should figure out which trails we want to do. We spread the map on the picnic table. Capitol Reef offered dozens of hiking options, from easy walks to strenuous backcountry routes. Teresa wanted to do the Cohab Canyon Trail. Mike suggested the more challenging Cassidy Arch. Jessica circled several options with a pen. "We've got 4 days," I said. "We don't have to decide everything now." But Jessica liked having a plan. She made a list while Mike talked about the camera equipment he'd brought. The sun dropped toward the horizon, painting the rock formations in deepening shades of red and gold. Other campers emerged from their vehicles to watch the sunset. A family with young children, a couple who looked to be in their 70s, a solo traveler in a small trailer. We made dinner on our portable camp stove. Pasta with jarred sauce, nothing fancy. Mike grilled chicken on their propane grill. We ate at their picnic table while the sky darkened and stars began to appear. "No light pollution," Teresa said, looking up. "You can see everything." The temperature dropped quickly once the sun set. Jessica went back to our RV for sweatshirts. When she returned, she was frowning. "Did you leave the back window open?" "No, why?" "It's open now, and the screen's torn." I walked back with her to check. The small window above the bed was indeed open, the screen hanging loose from one corner. I couldn't remember opening it, but we'd been distracted during setup. "Probably just came loose during the drive," I said. Jessica looked unconvinced but didn't argue. We secured the window and rejoined the others. The conversation wandered through work gossip, local politics, a movie Mike wanted to see. Normal things, comfortable things. Around 9:30 we decided to call it a night. The hike tomorrow would start early to avoid afternoon heat. Inside the RV, Jessica brushed her teeth while I checked the door locks. Everything seemed secure. The campground had gone quiet except for distant music from one of the other sites. "I'm glad we came," Jessica said, climbing into bed. "Even if I'm already stressing about email. We're only here for 4 days, your team can survive." She smiled and turned off the reading light. Within minutes, her breathing slowed to the rhythm of sleep. I lay awake longer, listening to the silence. Total darkness outside the windows. The RV creaked as it settled. Eventually, I drifted off. I woke to Jessica shaking my shoulder. "Daniel, wake up." The red numbers on the clock showed 2:47 a.m. "What's wrong?" "Someone's outside." I listened. Footsteps on gravel moving around the RV. Slow, deliberate steps. "Probably just someone using the bathroom," I whispered. The footsteps circled to the passenger side, then the back. They stopped. A long pause. Then they started again, coming back around to our door. Jessica's hand found mine in the darkness. The footsteps stopped directly outside. We waited. No knock, no voice, just silence. After what felt like an hour but was probably only a few minutes, the footsteps moved away. I got up carefully and looked through the blinds. Nothing visible in the darkness, no flashlight beams, no movement. "It's fine," I told Jessica. "Go back to sleep." But neither of us slept much after that. Morning came too early. I felt gritty and tired as I made coffee on the camp stove. Mike emerged from his van looking similarly exhausted. "Teresa had nightmares all night," he said. "Kept saying someone was knocking on the window." "We heard footsteps," I admitted. "Yeah, us too." We looked at each other. The campground appeared normal in daylight. The family with kids was making breakfast. The elderly couple sat in folding chairs reading paperback books. Jessica came out wearing hiking clothes. "We're still doing Cohab Canyon, right?" The plan steadied me. We packed water and snacks, applied sunscreen, drove the 6 miles to the trailhead. By the time we started up the switchbacks, the strange night felt distant and unimportant. The hike was beautiful. The trail climbed through a narrow canyon with walls that rose hundreds of feet on either side. Petroglyphs marked some of the rock faces, ancient symbols left by the Fremont people. At the top, we could see across the entire park, layers of colored stone stretching to the horizon. We took photos, ate trail mix, talked about doing another hike that afternoon, or just relaxing at camp. Everything felt normal again. The drive back took us past the park visitor center. Jessica wanted to check if they had better maps. Inside, a young ranger with a name tag that said Melissa was straightening brochures. "How can I help you folks?" Jessica asked about trail conditions. I browsed the books on local geology and history. Mike was checking his phone, trying to get service. "Where are you staying?" Melissa asked. "Red Rock RV sites," Jessica said, "just outside the park." Melissa's expression changed slightly. The private campground? Yeah, why? No reason. Just make sure you follow their rules. The owner's particular about quiet hours. Something in her tone made me pause, but Jessica was already paying for a map. We thanked her and left. Back at camp, we spent the afternoon reading and napping. The heat made everything slow and drowsy. Other campers came and went. The family packed up and left around 3. Someone new arrived in Site 4, a large fifth-wheel trailer pulled by a diesel truck. Teresa made veggie burgers for dinner. We ate early before the sun set. The conversation kept dying into long silences. Nobody mentioned the previous night, but the awareness of it hung between us. Want to start a fire? Mike asked. We gathered wood from the small pile near the office. The man who'd checked us in wasn't there. A woman I hadn't seen before sat behind the desk, watching a small television. She barely glanced at us when we took the wood. The fire caught quickly in the dry air. We pulled our chairs close and watched the flames. Stars emerged overhead more than I'd ever seen in Denver. The Milky Way stretched like a cloudy river across the sky. Look, Teresa said, pointing. A shooting star. We watched for more. The fire popped and crackled. The temperature dropped. Jessica excused herself to use the RV bathroom. She'd been gone maybe 5 minutes when I heard her call my name. Not loud, but urgent. I found her standing in the doorway of the RV, staring at something inside. What is it? She pointed at the small dinette table. Our map was spread out on it, covered in marks. Red pen, the same one Jessica had used yesterday. But the marks were different, circles and X's covering the map in a pattern that made my eyes hurt to follow. I didn't do that, she said. Maybe it smeared, the pen leaked. But the marks were deliberate, precise. Someone had drawn them carefully. Mike and Teresa came over. We all stared at the map. This is weird, Mike said finally. Someone was in here, Jessica said. Someone came into our RV and drew on our map. I checked the door, still locked. The windows were secure. No sign of forced entry. The door locks automatically, I said. No one could get in without the key. Then how did this happen? None of us had an answer. Teresa suggested we talk to the campground manager. We walked to the office together. The woman was still there, now doing a crossword puzzle. Excuse me, I said. Has anyone reported problems with people entering RVs? She looked up slowly. What kind of problems? Someone got into our RV. Or we think they did. Things were moved around. All our guests are respectful folks. You probably forgot you did it yourself. I'm pretty sure we'd remember. Gate locks at 10 p.m., she interrupted. Nobody comes in or out after that. You're safe as houses. Outside, Mike said. That was unhelpful. Let's just keep our doors locked, Teresa said. I'm sure it's nothing, but it didn't feel like nothing. We stayed by the fire longer than planned, nobody wanting to be the first to go to bed. The campground grew quiet. Lights went out in other RVs. The couple in Site 4 never emerged from their fifth wheel. Finally, around 11, Jessica said she couldn't keep her eyes open. We said goodnight and retreated to our separate vehicles. Inside, I double-checked every lock. Jessica brushed her teeth while I inspected the windows. Everything secure. We're leaving tomorrow, she said. We paid for 4 nights. I don't care. This place feels wrong. I wanted to argue, to convince her she was overreacting, but I felt it too. Something off about the campground. The 2 quiet nights, the unhelpful staff, the marked map. We turned off the lights and got into bed. I set my phone alarm for 7 a.m. I don't know what time I woke up. The clock display was dead. The entire RV had no power. I fumbled for my phone and used its light to navigate to the circuit breaker. Everything was switched off. Daniel, Jessica's voice was tight with fear. It's okay. The breakers tripped. I'll reset them. I flipped them back on. Lights blazed to life. The refrigerator hummed, everything working normally, except the door was unlocked. I'd checked it 3 times. I was certain, but now the deadbolt was turned and the handle moved freely. Stay here, I told Jessica. I grabbed the Maglite flashlight and stepped outside. The campground was dark and silent. Our fire had burned down to embers. No lights visible in Mike and Teresa's van. Then I saw it. The picnic table. Our picnic table. It was gone. I swept the flashlight around the site. No table. I walked to where it had been, finding only rectangular impressions in the gravel where the legs had stood. Movement caught my eye. At the center of the campground circle, where the communal area was supposed to be empty, I saw the picnic table. And another one, and another. All the picnic tables from all the sites had been moved to the center, arranged in a circle around the fire ring, 8 tables forming a perfect ring. Jesus Christ, I whispered. Daniel, Jessica called from the doorway. Where are you? Stay inside. But she was already coming toward me. She stopped when she saw the tables. What the hell? A door opened on Mike's van. He climbed out, looking around in confusion. What's going on? Someone moved all the tables, I said. We stood together, the three of us, staring at the arrangement. It looked deliberate, purposeful, like something set up for a ceremony or ritual. "Where's Teresa?" Jessica asked. Mike turned back to the van. "Teresa?" No response. "Teresa?" He climbed back inside. We heard him moving around, his voice rising with panic. "She's not here." "Teresa?" He emerged, wild-eyed. "She's gone. The van was locked. She was right next to me. She's fucking gone." We searched, all three of us, shouting Teresa's name, checking every site. The other RVs remained dark and silent. No one came out to help or complain about the noise. The fifth wheel in Site 4 was empty when I looked through its windows. No sign anyone had ever been inside. The bathhouse, the office, the road leading back to the highway. No Teresa. "We need to call 911, Jessica said. "No service. None of us could get a signal." "The gate," Mike said. "We'll drive out and find help." We ran to the entrance. The gate was closed, secured with a heavy chain and padlock. I tried the code, 4739. Nothing. The keypad was dead. Mike rattled the gate. It was solid steel, maybe 8 feet tall. Climbing over would be difficult but possible. "Help me up," he said. Jessica and I braced while he scrambled up the gate. He got one leg over the top, then stopped. "What is it?" I called. "The road," he said quietly. "The road's gone." I climbed up beside him. Beyond the gate, where the dirt road should have connected to the highway, there was only empty desert, scrub and sand and rock stretching into darkness. No road, no highway, no lights from Torrey or any other town. "That's impossible," I said. Mike climbed back down. His hands were shaking. "Where the fuck are we?" We walked back to the center of the campground, moving slowly, trying to process what we'd seen. The arranged picnic tables sat in their circle like they'd always been there. Jessica stopped walking. "Listen." I heard it then. A sound like breathing, but larger, slower, as if the campground itself was inhaling and exhaling. "We should go back to the RV, I said. "And do what?" Mike's voice cracked. "My girlfriend is missing. The road is gone. Nothing makes sense." A light appeared in the office window. After a long moment, the door opened. The old man from check-in stood in the doorway, backlit and featureless. "You folks should be asleep," he said. "Where's Teresa?" Mike shouted. "What did you do with her?" "Nobody did nothing. People leave sometimes. It's natural." Natural. The fucking road disappeared. The old man stepped back inside and closed the door. The light went out. Mike ran to the office and pounded on the door. It didn't open. He tried the handle. Locked. "I'm going to break this door down," he said. "Mike, wait." I started, but he was already stepping back, preparing to ram it. "Don't." We all turned. A woman stood near the arranged picnic tables. Not Teresa, someone else. She wore a long dress that might have been white but looked gray in the darkness. "Who are you?" Jessica asked. "Someone who left," the woman said. "Someone who tried to leave. You can't leave once the tables are arranged. You can only wait until morning." "Morning?" Mike said. "What happens in the morning?" "You'll see. Everyone sees." She walked between two tables and disappeared. Not walked away, just ceased to exist. We stood in silence. "Fuck this," Mike said. He went to his van, came back with a crowbar, and started attacking the office door. The wood splintered but held. He hit it again and again, putting all his fear and rage into each blow. The door finally gave way. Mike stumbled inside, flashlight beam sweeping the interior. Jessica and I followed. The office was empty, not just unoccupied, empty. No desk, no computer, no maps or brochures, just bare walls and floor and the smell of old dust. "It was full of stuff," I said. "Yesterday, there was a desk, that woman doing a crossword." Mike's flashlight beam found something on the wall, writing, carved into the wood, names and dates. Jennifer Moss, 6/12/2019 Bobby Carpenter, 8/3/2019 Sarah Kim, 8/3/2019 Marcus Wilson, 9/15/2019 Teresa Grant, 9/26/2024. "That's today's date," Jessica whispered. "That's tonight. Below the names, more carving. They always find themselves." "What does that mean?" Mike asked. I had no answer. We backed out of the office, Mike still gripping the crowbar. The sky was beginning to lighten in the east. Not dawn yet, but the deep black fading to dark blue. We returned to our RVs and sat outside, waiting. No one suggested trying to sleep. "When the sun comes up," Jessica said, "we're driving through that gate." "What if there's still no road?" I asked. "Then we keep driving anyway. We get away from this place." Mike hadn't spoken since we left the office. He stared at the circle of tables with empty eyes. The light grew stronger. Details emerged from the darkness. I could see the rock formations beyond the campground, the junipers and sage. Everything looked normal, mundane. The sun crested the horizon, golden light spilled across the desert. "Okay," I said. "Let's go." We stood up. Mike moved mechanically, like his body was operating without his mind's full participation. Then Jessica grabbed my arm. "Daniel, look." She was pointing at the road leading from the campsites to the gate. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing. Footprints, in the gravel, fresh footprints, leading away from Site 7, our site, toward the gate. 2 sets of prints. "Those are our shoe treads," I said. "From when we checked the gate last night." Jessica shook her head. "Look at where they start." The prints appeared in the middle of the road, not coming from our RV or the sites, just starting as if we'd been dropped from above. We followed them toward the gate. They stopped at the fence where Mike and I had climbed up. Then there were more prints leading back, but these prints came from a different direction. They approached the gate from outside as if we'd already been beyond the fence. Then they led back to the campsites. "That doesn't make sense," Mike said. The prints led us past the office, past the arranged picnic tables, to Site 6 where Mike and Teresa's van sat. The prints circled the van. Then more prints appeared, leading to Site 7, to our RV. The prints went right up to our door. Then they stopped. "This is where we came from this morning," Jessica said. "But the prints lead here from outside like we walked here from somewhere else." I looked at the RV. The door was closed. Had we closed it? I couldn't remember. "I don't want to go in there," Jessica said. "We have to," I told her. "We need our keys, our phones. We need to leave." Mike gripped his crowbar tighter. "I'll go first." He approached the RV door, reached for the handle. It opened before he touched it. We looked inside. The RV was empty, not our RV. Wrong layout. Different upholstery. No personal belongings. It could have been any rental RV, completely generic. "Where's our stuff?" Jessica asked. We checked the cabinets, the bathroom, the bedroom. Nothing. It was like we'd never been there. Mike walked to his van. Same thing. Empty. Generic. His carefully organized gear, his expensive camera equipment, all gone. "I don't understand," he said. "The road," I said suddenly. "We need to check the road again." We ran to the gate. In daylight I could see clearly beyond the fence there was a road. The dirt track leading to the highway, exactly where it should be. "It's back," Jessica said. We stared at it. It looked completely normal. Real. Solid. "The keypad," Mike said. I tried the code again. 4739. The gate clicked. The chain fell loose. Mike pushed the gate open. We walked through, expecting something to stop us. Nothing did. The dirt road stretched ahead. I could see the highway in the distance, cars passing. "Run," Jessica said. We ran. All 3 of us, running down that dirt road like our lives depended on it. Maybe they did. My lungs burned, my legs ached, but I kept running. The highway got closer. I could read the speed limit signs, could see the exit for Torrey. We reached the highway, stood on the shoulder, gasping for air. "We made it," Mike said. "We actually made it." A car approached, slowing down. An older couple. The woman rolled down her window. "Are you folks all right? Do you need help?" "We need the police," Jessica said. "Our friend is missing. She disappeared from the campground." "Which campground?" "Red Rock RV sites, just down that road." The woman looked at the dirt road we'd emerged from. Her expression changed. "There's no campground there, hun. That road doesn't go anywhere. Hasn't for years. But I started. Used to be a campground, maybe 20 years back. Owner went crazy, killed himself, place burned down. Nothing there now but foundation stones and trash." "That's not possible," Mike said. "We were just there. We stayed 2 nights. The couple exchanged glances. The man leaned over. "You folks been doing drugs or something? You look like you've been through something." "Please," Jessica said. "Just take us to Torrey, to the sheriff." They agreed, reluctantly. We climbed into their back seat. As we pulled away, I looked back at the dirt road. In the distance I could see something that might have been buildings, or might have been ruins, or might have been nothing at all. The couple dropped us at a gas station in Torrey. We thanked them and went inside. The clerk looked at us strangely, probably because we appeared shell-shocked and had no belongings. I borrowed the phone and called 911, explained that our friend had gone missing from a campground, gave them the location. "Red Rock RV sites?" The dispatcher said. "Sir, that campground closed in 2003. Are you sure about the location?" "Yes, we were just there. I'll send a deputy to check it out. Can you wait at the gas station?" We waited, bought coffee, and sat at a plastic table outside. None of us spoke. What was there to say? A sheriff's deputy arrived 30 minutes later. Young guy, looked skeptical from the start. "You're the folks who called about a missing person?" Mike explained everything. The campground, the strange nights, Teresa's disappearance. The deputy took notes, but his expression grew more doubtful. "Let's drive out there," he finally said. We got in his cruiser. He drove down the highway to the dirt road, turned onto it. The road was rougher than I remembered, more overgrown. After a quarter-mile, it became impassable, blocked by a fallen juniper. The deputy stopped the car. "This is as far as we can go. Want to walk in?" We walked. The road continued another few hundred yards, then opened into a clearing. There were foundation stones, like the woman had said, concrete pads where RVs had once parked. The remains of what might have been the office, just a pile of charred wood and melted siding. No RVs, no vehicles, no campground. "This place has been abandoned for years," the deputy said. "Are you sure this is where you stayed?" I walked to where Site 7 should have been, found the concrete pad, the electrical hookup box rusted and broken open, a fire ring made of stones filled with old ash. Jessica found Site 6, same condition, no van, no tent, no sign of recent occupation. "There were other campers," she said. "A family, an older couple, a fifth-wheel trailer." The deputy looked around the empty clearing. "Folks, I think maybe you're confused about where you stayed, or when. This place hasn't had campers in 2 decades. "What about Teresa?" Mike demanded. "My girlfriend is missing. Give me her full name and description, I'll file a report." Mike did. The deputy wrote everything down, but I could see he thought we were wasting his time. Probably figured Teresa had left Mike and we'd all been on some kind of drug-fueled trip. "I'll check missing persons databases," he said. "Put out a bolo, but between you and me, most missing adults turn up fine. Maybe she just needed some space." He drove us back to Torrey. Before he left, he handed me his card. "If you remember anything else, call me. And folks, get some rest. You all look like you've been through something." We stood in the gas station parking lot watching his cruiser disappear. "Now what?" Jessica asked. Mike was staring at his hands. She was right next to me. I felt her breathing. She was there. "We need to go back," I said. "Are you insane?" Jessica said. "That place, whatever it is, we barely got out. There are answers there, and maybe Teresa." Teresa's name was carved on the wall with a date. Today's date. She's gone. Mike's head snapped up. "Fuck you. Don't say that." "I'm sorry, but we're going back," he interrupted. "Tonight, we wait until dark and we go back." Jessica looked at me. I knew she wanted me to be the voice of reason, to say this was crazy. But part of me agreed with Mike. We needed to understand what had happened, needed answers. "Okay," I said. "Tonight." We spent the day in Torrey, bought supplies at a general store, flashlights, batteries, rope. Mike bought a knife. We ate lunch at a diner, but none of us could taste the food. Jessica tried her phone repeatedly, checking for messages that never came. Around 6 p.m., Mike rented a car. We drove back to the dirt road as the sun was setting. "Everyone ready?" Mike asked. "No, but we got out anyway." We walked up the road in the fading light. The clearing looked the same as it had that morning, abandoned, overgrown, empty. Mike walked to the remains of the office. "The names are still here. Look." He was right. The charred wall with the carved names. Teresa Grant, 9/26/2024, and the phrase, "They always find themselves." "What does it mean?" Jessica asked. I looked around the clearing, at the concrete pads where RVs had stood, at the fire rings, at the spaces where picnic tables should have been. "I think," I said slowly, "it means we find ourselves. We find our own campsites." "That doesn't make sense," Mike said. "Think about it. The footprints, they led from outside to inside. Like we walked here from somewhere else. Like we arrived at a place we'd already been. You're not making sense." The woman in the office said people leave sometimes, but she also said you can't leave once the tables are arranged. The tables were arranged for us. For our arrival. We were always going to be there. Jessica was shaking her head. "This is insane. You're talking like time travel or alternate realities." "I'm talking about a loop," I said. "We drove there, stayed 2 nights. Strange things happened, we ran, and now we're back, looking at where we stayed, and eventually, somehow, we'll be there again." "No," Mike said. "No, that's not how reality works." But even as he said it, I saw his eyes change, saw him start to believe it might be true. The sun set, darkness came quickly in the desert. Our flashlights created small circles of light in the vastness. "We should set up camp," I said. "Are you fucking kidding?" Jessica said. "If this is a loop, we have to complete it. We have to be here when the campground exists again." Mike walked to concrete pad number 6. "This is where my van was." I went to pad number 7, stood where our RV had been parked. Jessica joined me reluctantly. "This is crazy." "I know." We waited. Hours passed. The stars came out, brilliant and cold. The temperature dropped. At some point, Jessica fell asleep leaning against me. Mike sat alone on his concrete pad, staring into darkness. Around 2 a.m., I heard it. The breathing sound, like the desert itself was alive. Mike stood up. "Do you hear that?" "Yeah." The air seemed to thicken. The darkness became less dark, not from light, but from something else. Presence. The picnic tables appeared first, all of them, arranged in their circle around the central fire ring, not forming or materializing, just suddenly there, like they'd always been there. Then the office, the trailer solidifying out of nothing, lights visible in the windows, the other RVs, the campsites filling with vehicles and tents, the family, the couple, the fifth wheel, and finally our RV appearing on pad 7. Solid and real. Jessica woke up with a gasp. "Daniel, I see it." The campground was back, complete, exactly as it had been. Mike walked toward his van. His blue Vanagon with white racing stripes parked perfectly on pad 6. "Is it real?" he asked. I approached our RV, touched it. Solid metal. I tried the door. It opened. Inside was all our stuff, my clothes, Jessica's laptop, the marked-up map on the dinette table. "We're back," Jessica said. "We're actually back." Mike opened his van. I heard him cry out, Teresa, wake up." We ran to him. Teresa was in the van, sleeping in the bed. She opened her eyes groggily. "Mike, what time is it?" He pulled her into a crushing embrace. "You're here. You're really here. Where else would I be? Are you okay?" We stood there, the four of us, trying to understand. Teresa looked confused but unharmed. She had no memory of disappearing, no awareness that anything strange had happened. "What day is it?" I asked her. She checked her phone. "Thursday, September 26th. Why are you all staring at me?" I looked at my phone. "Wednesday, September 25th, 2:47 a.m. The exact time Jessica had first woken me up to say someone was outside. "We're in a loop," I said. "This is the first night, the night we heard footsteps. This is where it starts." "Daniel, you're not making sense," Jessica said. "We've already lived this. We've already done all of it. The strange nights, the moved tables, Teresa disappearing, running away. And now we're back at the beginning." Mike looked at Teresa, then at me. "So what do we do?" "I don't know. Maybe if we don't repeat the same choices." A door opened on the RV in Site 3. A woman stepped out. In the darkness, I couldn't see her face clearly, but something about her was familiar. She walked toward us. As she got closer, I recognized her. It was Jessica, not my Jessica, who stood beside me. Another Jessica. She looked older, tired. Her clothes were torn and dirty. "You're new," this other Jessica said. "First time in the loop?" My Jessica grabbed my arm. "What the fuck is this?" "I'm you," the other Jessica said, from further along. "I've been here, I'm not sure, weeks, months. Time doesn't work right once you're in the loop." "This isn't possible," my Jessica said. "You'll think that at first, then you'll try to escape, then you'll try to figure out the rules, then you'll try to break the loop. Eventually, you'll realize you can't. And you'll end up like me, watching new versions of yourself arrive." "How do we get out?" I asked. The other Jessica laughed bitterly. "You don't. The only way out is through. But through just leads back to the beginning. They always find themselves. Get it? You find your own campsite, your own loop, your own version of the nightmare." More doors were opening on other RVs, more people emerging. I recognized Mike. Multiple Mikes, 3 of them, all looking at us with hollow eyes. An older Teresa, a version of myself sitting alone by a fire ring. "How many of us are there?" Mike asked. "I've lost count," one of the other Mikes said. "Every loop adds more. We overlap, exist simultaneously, some ahead, some behind, all trapped." "There has to be a way," I said. My older self stood up from the fire ring. He walked over slowly. "There's no way out," he said. "I've tried everything, destroying the campground, burning the office, killing the manager, staying awake for days. Nothing works. The loop always resets. We always end up back here." I looked at Jessica, at Mike, at Teresa. They stared back at me with growing horror. "So what do we do?" Jessica whispered. "What everyone does," the other Jessica said. "We live through it. We try to survive. We watch ourselves arrive and warn ourselves, even though it never helps. And we wait for the next time the loop resets." "But why?" Teresa asked. "Why is this happening?" None of the older versions answered. They just looked at us with empty expressions. "We think it's the land," one of the older Mikes finally said. "Something happened here, something that trapped time. Or maybe we did something, crossed some boundary we weren't supposed to cross. It doesn't really matter anymore. The old man from the office appeared, walking through the circle of picnic tables. He looked at all of us, old and new. "You folks should be asleep," he said, like he always did. I wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, to attack him like Mike had before, but I knew it wouldn't matter. I'd already done all of this. I'd already made every choice. The old man went back to the office. The other versions of ourselves drifted back to their campsites, or their versions of the campsites, or whatever they were. The spaces between them seemed to blur, multiple realities occupying the same physical location. "What do we do now?" my Jessica asked me. I looked at the eastern horizon. Dawn was coming. In a few hours we'd go hiking. We'd come back to find strange things. We'd search for Teresa. We'd try to escape. We'd fail. And then we'd be here again, watching newer versions of ourselves arrive and learn the same terrible truth. "We try to survive," I said. "We try to find a way out, even though I know we won't. There has to be a way," Mike said. I looked at the older Mikes, all of whom had probably said the same thing, all of whom had learned the same lesson. "Yeah," I said, "maybe there is," but I didn't believe it, and from the look in Jessica's eyes, neither did she. The sun rose. The campground looked beautiful in morning light, the red rocks glowing warm and inviting, a perfect day for hiking in Capitol Reef National Park. We made coffee. We talked about which trails to explore. We went through the motions of a normal camping trip, even though we knew nothing would ever be normal again. And in the distance, I could see smoke from another fire ring, another version of us further ahead in the loop, watching us repeat their choices. "We always find ourselves," the carving had said. Now I understood what it meant. We find ourselves over and over, trapped in our own campsite, burning down to ash like the rest of this place, forever. Story 3. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm a freelance videographer, and what happened at Mirror Lake in the Uinta Mountains last September has made me question every frame I've ever captured. I need to tell someone about this. The police didn't believe me. My insurance company certainly didn't. And my wife, well, Sarah left 3 weeks ago. She said I wasn't the same person anymore, that I'd become obsessed with something that didn't matter. But she's wrong. It matters. It matters more than anything. Let me start from the beginning. Sarah and I had been planning this trip for months. We'd bought a used RV, a 2015 Winnebago that cost us more than it should have. And this was supposed to be our maiden voyage, just the two of us getting away from Portland for a long weekend, celebrating our 5th anniversary away from the noise and the deadlines and the constant pressure of city life. Mirror Lake seemed perfect. The reviews online made it sound peaceful, a small RV park with maybe 20 sites, most of them occupied by retirees and families. No cell service, but that was part of the appeal. Sarah worked in digital marketing and was glued to her phone constantly. I thought the forced disconnection might be good for us. We arrived on a Thursday afternoon in late September. The aspens were just starting to turn, patches of gold among the dark green pines. The air had that sharp, clean smell that only exists above 7,000 feet. The park manager, a woman in her 60s named Diane, checked us in and gave us a map to our site, number 14, near the back of the campground, close to the trailhead that led up to the lake itself. "You folks here for the photography?" Diane asked, nodding at the camera equipment visible through our RV window. "Just for fun," I said. "I do video work professionally, but this trip is supposed to be a break from all that." "Well, you picked a beautiful time of year for it. Not too many people this late in the season. You'll have plenty of privacy." She smiled, but there was something in her expression I couldn't quite read. Maybe it was just the way the afternoon light hit her face. "Just remember to lock up your food at night. We've had some bear activity this year." We thanked her and drove to our site. It was perfect. Level ground, a picnic table, a fire ring, and enough distance from the neighboring RVs that we felt alone without being isolated. Site 13 next to us was empty. Site 15 on the other side had a massive Class A motorhome with Michigan plates, but I didn't see anyone around it. Sarah was in a good mood. She'd actually left her phone in the RV as we set up our camp chairs and started planning what to make for dinner. That's when I made my first mistake. I pulled out my camera. "Marcus, you promised," Sarah said, but she was smiling. "Just a few shots of the site for memories, then I'm done, I swear." I shot maybe 5 minutes of footage, the RV, the trees, Sarah laughing as she tried to figure out how to work the propane hookup. Basic stuff, the kind of home video everyone takes on vacation. Then I put the camera away and helped her with dinner. That first night was exactly what we'd hoped for. We cooked steaks on the fire ring, drank wine, talked about things we never had time to discuss at home. Around 10 we heard voices from Site 15, a couple it sounded like arguing about something. The words weren't clear, just the tone, tense, angry, but it quieted down after a few minutes. We went to bed around 11. The RV's bed was smaller than we'd expected, but we made it work. I remember lying there listening to the wind in the pines, thinking how glad I was that we'd done this. Sarah fell asleep quickly, her breathing slow and steady. I was almost asleep myself when I heard the footsteps outside. They were light, careful, circling the RV. I told myself it was probably just someone walking back to their site from the bathrooms. But the footsteps stopped right outside our bedroom window. I could hear breathing, slow, deliberate breathing. I didn't move. I'm not sure why. Maybe I was afraid of what I'd see if I looked. Maybe I was afraid of scaring Sarah. The breathing continued for what felt like 5 minutes but was probably only 30 seconds. Then the footsteps moved away, crunching on the gravel path. I didn't sleep well after that. The next morning, I convinced myself I'd imagined it or misinterpreted some animal sound. Sarah was already up making coffee in the RV's tiny kitchen. The sun was bright, the air cold and perfect. Last night's unease seemed ridiculous in daylight. I was thinking we could hike up to the lake after breakfast, Sarah said. Diane said it's only about 2 miles. Sounds good. Mind if I bring the camera? The light will be great up there. She gave me a look. Marcus, I know. But it's our anniversary trip. I want to have something to remember it by. Just a few minutes of footage, that's it. She sighed but nodded. Fine, but then you're putting it away for the rest of the trip. Deal? Deal. We set out around 9. The trail was well maintained, winding through aspen groves and pine forests. I filmed little bits here and there, Sarah walking ahead of me, a particularly beautiful clearing, some chipmunks that scattered at our approach. Nothing unusual, nothing that would matter later. We reached Mirror Lake around 10:30. It was stunning, a perfect alpine tarn reflecting the peaks above it like glass. There were a few other people there, a family with kids skipping rocks, an older man fly fishing from the shore. I set up my camera on a rock and filmed Sarah standing at the water's edge, her face peaceful in a way I hadn't seen in months. We sat there for maybe an hour, just enjoying the quiet. I took some more footage, mostly scenery shots, nothing special, and then we hiked back down. That's when things started to feel wrong. We got back to our campsite around 1 in the afternoon. The couple from Site 15 was outside their motorhome and I got my first good look at them. The man was tall, maybe mid-40s, with graying hair and an expensive-looking jacket. The woman was younger, 30s, blonde, wearing yoga pants and a fleece. They were loading things into their vehicle with jerky, aggressive movements. "Afternoon," I called out as we passed. The man glared at me. The woman wouldn't make eye contact. "Whatever," the man muttered and went back inside. "Friendly," Sarah whispered once we were at our site. I shrugged it off. People have bad days, but something about the interaction bothered me. The way he'd looked at me, like he recognized me, like I'd done something to him. That afternoon, while Sarah read in the RV, I decided to review the footage I'd shot. This is something I always do. Check the quality, make sure the exposure and focus are right, delete anything that didn't work. I transferred the files from my camera to my laptop and started scrubbing through them. The campsite setup shots looked fine. The hiking footage was good, steady, well composed. The shots at Mirror Lake were exactly what I'd hoped for. Then I got to the final clip, the one of Sarah standing by the water. I almost didn't notice it the first time through, but I've been doing this work for 15 years. I notice things. Movement in the background, people photobombing shots, birds flying through frame. It's part of the job. So when something felt off about that shot, I stopped and rewound it. Sarah was in the center of the frame, standing at the water's edge, her hair moving slightly in the breeze. Behind her, about 20 yards back, partially obscured by trees, was a figure. I zoomed in on my laptop screen. The figure was standing perfectly still, watching us, watching Sarah. The image quality wasn't great when blown up like that, but I could make out basic details. Tall, wearing dark clothing, face in shadow, and they were standing in a spot where I knew, absolutely knew, nobody had been when I was filming. I would have seen them. I would have noticed. I checked the timestamp on the footage, 10:47 a.m. I tried to remember that exact moment. Sarah had been talking about something, about wanting to get a cabin up here someday. Maybe make it an annual tradition. I'd been focused on keeping her in frame, making sure the composition was right. Could someone have walked up behind her without me noticing? Maybe, probably. The family with kids had been there. The fisherman. Maybe it was just one of them, standing still for a moment. But the more I looked at the figure, the more wrong it seemed. The posture was too rigid, too deliberately still, and something about the way the light hit them, or didn't hit them, made my skin prickle. I saved a screenshot and kept reviewing the footage. The next few clips were more hiking shots, trees and trail, and Sarah's back as she walked ahead of me. Nothing unusual. Until I got to a shot I'd taken near a creek crossing, maybe halfway back to the campground. I'd set up the camera to film Sarah hopping across the rocks. She's not particularly athletic, and I thought it might make for a funny moment. The shot was about 15 seconds long. Sarah approaching the creek, carefully testing the first rock, then making her way across while I called out encouragement from behind the camera. But when I played it back, I noticed something in the background again. Far behind Sarah, back up the trail we'd just descended, a figure stood watching us. Same posture, same dark clothing, same impossible stillness. My hands were shaking as I paused the footage. This couldn't be the same person. We'd been moving continuously down the trail. There was no way someone could have followed us from the lake without me noticing, without making noise on the rocky path. I zoomed in again. The image was grainier this time. The figure was farther away, obscured by trees and distance, but I could see enough to know it was the same height, same general build as the figure at the lake. I checked the timestamp. 11:23 a.m. I sat there for a long time, staring at my laptop screen. There had to be a logical explanation. Maybe it was two different people. Maybe there was another hiker on the trail who happened to stop in two different spots. Maybe I was seeing patterns where none existed, making something out of nothing. But I didn't believe that, not really. "Marcus, you okay?" Sarah was standing in the doorway of the RV bedroom, looking concerned. I closed my laptop. "Yeah, just reviewing footage." "You look pale." "I'm fine. Just hungry, I think." "Want to start dinner?" She studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Sure, I'll get the burgers out." I didn't tell her about the figure. I'm still not sure why. Maybe I thought she'd laugh it off. Maybe I was afraid she'd want to leave, cut our trip short. Or maybe, and this is the truth I don't like to admit, maybe I wanted to review the rest of the footage first, alone. We cooked dinner as the sun set. The couple from Site 15 had apparently left. Their motorhome was gone, the site empty. I was glad. I didn't want to deal with that man's hostile stare again. After dinner, Sarah went to take a shower at the campground bathhouse. I told her I'd clean up and get the fire going. As soon as she was gone, I opened my laptop again. I went through every single frame of footage from the hike, slowly, methodically, zooming in on every background, checking every shadow, and I found it again, and again, and again. In a shot of the trail ahead, a figure standing among the trees, barely visible but definitely there. In a clip of Sarah examining wildflowers, a figure in the background, half hidden by a boulder. In a panning shot of the forest, a figure that remained stationary while the camera moved, creating a blur but still discernible. 7 times total in the hiking footage. 7 times that something had been there, watching us, following us. And I had never noticed in the moment. I felt sick. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely work the laptop trackpad. This wasn't random hikers, this wasn't coincidence. Someone had been stalking us on that trail, staying just far enough back to avoid direct notice but close enough to what? Watch? Observe? Wait? I heard Sarah's footsteps on the gravel. I closed the laptop and forced myself to breathe normally. "Fire going yet?" she asked, toweling her wet hair. "Just about to start it." She looked at me. "Marcus, seriously, what's wrong? You've been weird since we got back." "I'm fine, really, just tired." She didn't believe me, but she let it drop. We sat by the fire and tried to recapture the previous night's ease, but it was gone. I kept looking at the tree line, at the shadows between the RVs, expecting to see that figure standing there, watching us. Around 10, Sarah went to bed. I told her I'd join her soon, that I wanted to finish my beer by the fire. She kissed my forehead and went inside. I sat there alone, feeding wood to the flames, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. The logical part of my brain kept insisting there had to be an explanation. Camera glitches, pareidolia, seeing patterns that aren't there. My imagination running wild after a single strange moment. But I've been working with cameras for 15 years. I know what lens flares look like. I know what compression artifacts and digital noise look like. I know the difference between a shadow and a person, and these were people. Or something shaped like a person. I was so focused on my thoughts that I almost didn't hear it. The sound of footsteps on gravel, slow, deliberate, approaching from the direction of the empty Site 13. I turned, my heart hammering. Nothing. The site was dark, empty, the way it had been since we arrived. But I could still hear the footsteps, continuing past Site 13, past our site, heading toward where the motorhome had been parked earlier. I stood up, trying to see through the darkness. The campground had lights on the main road, but they didn't reach back here. Just dark trees and darker RVs and the orange glow of my dying fire. The footsteps stopped. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding thin and stupid. No response, just the wind in the pines and the distant sound of water moving somewhere. I went inside the RV and locked the door. Sarah was already asleep. I lay down beside her and stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next morning, Saturday, Sarah wanted to stay at camp and relax. She was happy with her book, happy doing nothing. I couldn't sit still. I told her I was going to walk to the camp office, see if they had firewood for sale, check if there was any way to get cell service in case of emergency. She barely looked up from her book. Diane was behind the desk at the office working on some paperwork. She looked up when I came in and smiled, but the smile faded when she saw my face. "Everything all right, Mr. Webb?" "Yeah, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "The couple that was in Site 15, the ones with the Michigan plates, do you know when they left?" Her expression shifted, became guarded. "Yesterday afternoon, around 4. "Why? Did they say why they were leaving early?" "Mr. Webb, I can't really discuss other guests. Please, it's important." She studied me for a long moment, then she sighed. "They came in here yesterday around 3, very upset. Said something had happened, that they didn't feel safe, that they wanted a refund. I tried to get details, but they wouldn't explain. Just kept saying they needed to leave immediately." My mouth was dry. "Did they say anything specific? Anything about being watched or followed?" Diane's face went pale. "How did you know that?" "Because something's following us too." She stared at me, then she stood up, walked to the office door, and locked it. When she turned back to me, she looked older, tired. "How many times have you seen it?" she asked quietly. "Seen what?" "The figure, in your photos or videos. How many times?" I felt cold. "You know about this. Sit down, Mr. Webb." I sat. She poured me a cup of coffee from a pot that looked like it had been sitting since morning, then sat across from me. "This campground has been here for 40 years, she said. "I've been managing it for 12. And for all 12 years, at least twice every season, we get a guest who comes to this office and asks the same questions you just asked. Sometimes it's about photographs, sometimes it's about video. Sometimes people just report seeing someone watching them from the woods. The details vary, but the core is always the same. What is it? I don't know. Nobody does. We've had police out here. We've had park rangers. We even had a group from the State University's anthropology department come investigate after a particularly persistent guest filed reports. They didn't find anything. No evidence of stalkers, no strange people living in the woods, nothing. But people keep seeing it, yes." "Have you ever seen it?" She shook her head. "I don't camp anymore, Mr. Webb. I live in town, 15 miles from here. I come in during the day and I leave before dark. I've learned that much. What happens to the people who see it? Does anything bad happen?" Her silence was answer enough. "What do you mean?" I pressed. "Most people leave. Like that couple yesterday. They pack up and go and nothing follows them. But some people..." She stopped, choosing her words carefully. "Some people become obsessed. They want to figure out what it is. They go looking for it. They try to get better footage or clearer photographs, and those people, sometimes they don't come back from their hikes, or they have accidents, or they go home and..." She trailed off. "And what? And things fall apart for them. Relationships end. Jobs disappear. A few have had complete breakdowns. One man, maybe 5 years ago, he was found dead in his home in Colorado 2 months after staying here. Police ruled it suicide, but his wife insisted he'd changed after the camping trip. Said he'd become paranoid, convinced something had followed him home." I felt like I couldn't breathe. "Why didn't you warn us? Why don't you tell people about this when they check in?" "Because 90% of our guests never experience anything unusual. They have wonderful trips and leave happy. And the ones who do see it, what am I supposed to say? Don't camp here because something impossible shows up in people's photographs? I'd lose my job. The park would shut down. And for what? To prevent something I don't even understand." I stood up. "I'm taking my wife and leaving. Today. Right now." "That's smart, Mr. Webb. That's the right choice. Can I ask you one more thing?" She nodded. "Has anyone ever tried to communicate with it, to figure out what it wants?" Her expression darkened. "Don't. Whatever you're thinking, don't. The people who try to engage with it are the ones who suffer the most. Just go. Delete the footage if you want, or keep it if you must. But go home and forget about this place." I thanked her and walked back to our site. Sarah was right where I'd left her, reading her book in a camp chair. She looked peaceful, happy, everything I'd wanted for this trip. "Hey," I said, "want to head out a little early? Maybe drive down to Provo, get a nice hotel with a real bed?" She looked up, surprised. "I thought you wanted to stay through Sunday." "I know, but I'm not feeling great. I think the altitude might be bothering me. Plus we could have a fancy dinner, maybe go to that spa you like." Her face lit up. "Really? You'd do that?" "Of course. Let's pack up and hit the road." It took us about an hour to break camp. Sarah was excited, already looking up restaurants on her phone now that we were talking about getting back to civilization. I was loading the last of our gear when I saw movement at Site 13. Someone was standing there, just standing, motionless, watching us pack. My blood turned to ice. It was too far away to make out features, but I absolutely knew, it was the figure from the footage. "Marcus?" Sarah's voice was worried. "What are you staring at?" I looked at her, then back at Site 13. Nothing. The site was empty. "Nothing," I said. "Thought I saw a deer. You ready to go?" We drove out of Mirror Lake Campground at noon. I watched in the rearview mirror until the place disappeared behind the trees. Sarah was already chattering about which hotel to book, oblivious to how close we'd come to what. I still didn't know. That should have been the end of it. We should have gone home, forgotten about the weird camping trip, moved on with our lives, but I couldn't let it go. I told myself I just needed to understand what we'd experienced. That's why I kept the footage. That's why I spent hours reviewing it frame by frame, enhancing shadows, adjusting exposure levels, trying to get a clear look at the figure. Sarah noticed, of course. I started staying up late, obsessing over the footage. I'd pause it at the moments where the figure appeared and just stare, trying to understand what I was seeing. The more I looked, the more details I noticed. Wrong details. The way the figure never seemed to be quite in focus, even when everything around it was sharp. The way shadows didn't fall on it correctly. The way it seemed to be always exactly the same distance from us, despite the changing perspectives of the different shots. "Marcus, you need to delete that footage," Sarah said one night, a week after we'd gotten home. "It's not healthy. You're becoming obsessed. I just need to figure out what it is. Why? Why does it matter? We left. We're safe. It's over. Because it doesn't make sense. People don't just appear in footage without being there. It's not possible. Then maybe it's a camera malfunction, or someone playing a prank, or 100 other normal explanations. But staying up until 3 in the morning staring at your laptop isn't going to change anything." I knew she was right, but I couldn't stop. 2 weeks after Mirror Lake, I received an email. The subject line was, "About your footage." I opened it with shaking hands. "Mr. Webb, my name is Dr. Jennifer Aldrich. I'm a researcher at the University of Utah studying anomalous phenomena in high-altitude regions. Diane Peterson from Mirror Lake Campground forwarded me your contact information with your permission. I understand you experienced something unusual during your recent visit. I would very much like to discuss this with you. I may have information that could help you understand what you captured." I replied within minutes. We set up a call for the next day. Dr. Aldrich was professional and direct. She explained that she'd been collecting reports of similar phenomena from various locations across Utah, Colorado, and Wyoming for the past 7 years. Hundreds of reports, all with the same basic pattern. People camping or hiking who later discovered figures in their photographs or videos, figures they never saw in person. "The earliest report I've found dates back to 1973, she told me. A family camping near what's now Mirror Lake. They had a film camera. When they developed the pictures, there was someone in the background of multiple shots. They filed a report with local police about a possible stalker, but nothing was ever found." "What do you think it is?" I asked. "I don't know. That's the honest answer. I have theories, but nothing I could prove. What I can tell you is that the phenomenon seems to be connected to recording devices specifically. It doesn't appear to the naked eye, or if it does, people don't consciously register it, but cameras capture it. Video, film, digital, doesn't matter. There's something about the act of recording that makes it visible. Diane said people who try to investigate it have bad things happen to them. Silence on the other end of the line. Then, that's true. I've documented 17 cases of people who, after capturing footage of the phenomenon, experienced significant life disruptions, mental health crises, accidents, mysterious deaths, but correlation doesn't prove causation. It could be that the kind of person who obsessively pursues something like this is already predisposed to mental health issues or risk-taking behavior. Or it could be that the thing itself does something to people. Yes, that's also possible. What do you think I should do? Stop looking at the footage, Mr. Webb. Delete it if you can. Go to therapy if you're having intrusive thoughts. Live your life and try to forget this happened. That's what I tell everyone who contacts me. But you're still investigating it. I'm a researcher. It's my job to pursue questions like this, but you're not a researcher. You're someone who had a disturbing experience and wants to move past it, so my advice stands. Let it go." I thanked her and ended the call. Then I opened the footage again. I couldn't help myself. I had to look one more time, and that's when I saw it. Something I'd missed in all my previous viewings. In the final shot, the one of Sarah at Mirror Lake, I zoomed in on the figure standing in the background. And this time, I noticed something new. The figure was holding something rectangular, something that caught the light in a familiar way. The figure was holding a camera. It was filming us while we filmed it. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. I sat there staring at the screen, my mind racing. What did this mean? Was this thing documenting us the same way we documented our trip? Why? For what purpose? I checked the other shots where the figure appeared. In 3 of them, when I zoomed in far enough and adjusted the contrast, I could see it. The rectangular shape of a camera or camcorder held at chest height pointed directly at us. Whatever this thing was, it was watching us, recording us, creating its own footage of our hike. I spent that night imagining what that footage might look like. Sarah and I hiking, oblivious while something invisible followed behind us, documenting our every move. What did we look like through its lens? Were we clear and solid, or were we blurry and strange the way it appeared in our footage? That's when I started having the dreams. Every night I'd dream I was watching footage, but not from my camera. I was seeing through something else's perspective. I watched myself and Sarah hiking, setting up camp, sitting by the fire. I watched us sleep in the RV, vulnerable and unaware. I watched us from impossible angles, from positions where no person could have stood, and in the dreams, I could feel something. Not emotion exactly, but intention, curiosity maybe. Or hunger, something ancient and patient that had all the time in the world. I'd wake up gasping, covered in sweat. Sarah stopped sleeping in the same bed. She moved to the guest room, said she couldn't deal with my thrashing and mumbling. I didn't blame her. 3 weeks after Mirror Lake, I lost my biggest client. They said my recent work had been distracted and not up to standard. I'd missed deadlines, delivered footage that was technically competent but lacking the creative spark they'd hired me for. I tried to explain that I was going through something, that I'd get it together, but they'd already hired someone else. Sarah was furious. This is exactly what Diane warned about. This is what happens to people who can't let this go. You're destroying your life, Marcus. Our life. I'm trying to understand. I don't care about understanding. I care about you. I care about us. And right now, you care more about that fucking footage than you do about your own marriage. She was right, but I couldn't stop. It was like the footage had infected me somehow. Become part of my thoughts, my dreams, my waking life. I'd be having a conversation with someone and realize I'd zoned out, my mind drifting back to those 7 appearances of the figure, trying to find patterns or meanings I'd missed. I started researching, not just the phenomenon itself, but similar cases, folklore, anything that might explain what we'd encountered. I found stories about thought forms, about tulpas, about entities that existed in the gap between observation and reality. I read about quantum mechanics and observer effects. I dove into threads on obscure forums where people shared their own unexplainable experiences. One night, deep in a Reddit thread about photographic hauntings, I found a comment that made my blood run cold. Whatever you do, don't try to film it deliberately. Don't go back looking for it. That's when it follows you home. The comment was from a deleted account, no other details. But something about those words felt true, and that's when I realized what I'd been planning. Somewhere in the back of my mind, without consciously acknowledging it, I'd been thinking about going back to Mirror Lake, taking better equipment, more cameras, setting up a proper investigation. I'd been thinking about it since the day we left. I sat there in my office, surrounded by printouts and notes and screenshots, and I finally understood what Sarah had been trying to tell me. I was obsessed. I had let this thing into my head and it was taking over, consuming everything else that mattered. I needed to stop. I spent that night going through all my files, every piece of footage from the trip. I backed it all up to an external drive. I couldn't bring myself to delete it permanently, not yet, and then I removed it from my computer. I threw away all the printouts and notes. I closed all the browser tabs, unsubscribed from the forums, deleted Dr. Aldrich's email. Then I went to the guest room where Sarah was sleeping and woke her up. "I'm done," I told her. "I'm done with the footage, done with the obsession, done with all of it. You were right. I need help." She looked at me, her eyes red from crying. "Do you mean it?" "Yes. I'll call a therapist tomorrow. I'll focus on finding new clients. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this." She hugged me, and I felt her shake with sobs. "I thought I'd lost you." "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I'm so sorry." And I meant it. For about 3 days. The problem was the external drive. I'd hidden it in a drawer, told myself I wouldn't touch it, but it was there, calling to me, begging to be examined one more time, just one more look. Just one more attempt to understand. On the 4th day, Sarah was at work. I was supposed to be editing a wedding video for a small client I'd picked up. Instead, I plugged in the external drive. Just one more look, I told myself, just to see if there's anything I missed. Then I'll really be done. I opened the folder with the hiking footage, but instead of the familiar files, there was something new. A video file I didn't recognize, with a date stamp from the previous night. My hands were shaking as I clicked on it. The footage was dark, grainy, shot from a handheld position that swayed and moved through nighttime forest. I could hear breathing on the audio. Heavy, rhythmic, not quite human. The camera moved steadily forward, branches appearing in frame and then disappearing as the shooter moved through the woods. Then I recognized what I was seeing. The camera was approaching a campsite. Our campsite, Site 14 at Mirror Lake. I watched, frozen, as the camera moved closer. I could see our RV in the darkness, lights off, windows dark. The camera circled around it, the same slow, methodical circle that I'd heard that first night. Then the camera moved to our bedroom window and stopped. The breathing on the audio got louder. The camera stayed there, pointed at the window, for what felt like an eternity. I could see nothing through the window that was too dark, but the camera remained fixed, watching, waiting. Then the footage cut to another scene. Daylight now. The camera was following two people up a hiking trail. I could see their backs, a man with a camera, a woman in a blue jacket. It was us. The footage was from behind us as we hiked to Mirror Lake. The video continued, showing our entire hike from the perspective of something following us. Every stop we made, every time I'd set up my camera, every moment I'd filmed Sarah, this thing had been filming us too, creating a mirror record of our trip. The final scene was from Mirror Lake itself. Sarah was at the water's edge, exactly where I'd filmed her. The camera was positioned in the trees behind her, the same spot where the figure had been standing in my footage, and then the camera turned. For just a moment, just a second or two, the camera rotated away from Sarah and pointed at itself, or rather, at whoever was holding it. The image was blurry, unfocused, but I could make out a shape, humanoid, but not quite right. Too tall, proportions slightly wrong, features that refused to resolve into anything recognizable, and where its eyes should have been there was just darkness, not shadow but absence, like looking into a hole in the world. Then the footage ended. I sat there, my heart hammering so hard I thought I might pass out. This video hadn't been on my camera, it hadn't been in any of my files. It had somehow appeared on the external drive overnight while it sat in my drawer, disconnected from everything. There was only one possible explanation. The thing from Mirror Lake had uploaded its own footage to my drive. It had somehow reached across whatever barrier separated us and deposited this file onto my hardware. It had followed us home. I started laughing. I couldn't help it. It was all so impossible, so ridiculous, so absolutely terrifying that laughter was the only response I had left. Sarah found me there an hour later, still laughing, tears running down my face. The footage paused on that final blurred image of the figure holding the camera. "Marcus?" Her voice was small, frightened. I turned to her. I tried to explain, tried to show her, but the words wouldn't come out right. All I could do was point at the screen. She looked. She watched. And when the footage ended, she was crying. "We need to leave," she said. "We need to leave right now. Pack a bag. We're going to my sister's in California. We're getting away from this house, this computer, all of it." We threw some clothes in a bag. Sarah was frantic, moving with desperate speed. I was numb, moving on autopilot. We were almost out the door when I stopped. "The external drive," I said. "We have to take it with us." "No, leave it. Leave all of it. If we leave it, it'll still be here. Whatever connection it has, it'll still exist. We have to take it with us and destroy it." She stared at me, then nodded. I went back to my office. The external drive was sitting on my desk where I'd left it. I reached for it. The computer screen flickered to life behind me. I turned. A new window had opened. Video playback, showing footage I'd never seen before. It was our house, our bedroom. Sarah and me sleeping. Filmed from a position at the foot of our bed. The timestamp said it was from last night. I heard Sarah scream from somewhere behind me. I turned to see her pointing at the doorway, at the figure standing there. It was holding a camera pointed at us, its blank face turned in our direction. We stood frozen, unable to move or speak or think. The figure didn't move either. Just stood there, filming us the way it had filmed us at Mirror Lake. The way it had been filming us, I realized with horror, every day since we came home. How long did we stand there? Seconds? Minutes? I don't know. Time felt wrong, elastic, like we'd slipped out of the normal flow of things. Then Sarah grabbed my arm and pulled. We ran, out of the office, through the house, out the front door. We got in the car and Sarah drove, her hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the steering wheel. I looked back at the house as we pulled away. The figure was standing in the doorway, still filming. That was 6 weeks ago. We've been staying with Sarah's sister in Los Angeles. I haven't gone back to the house. I haven't touched another camera. I've been seeing a psychiatrist who specializes in trauma. He's prescribed medication for anxiety and insomnia. Sarah has started talking to a lawyer about divorce. I don't blame her. I brought this thing into our lives. I refused to let it go when I should have, and now I don't know if it will ever let us go. 3 days ago, Sarah's sister mentioned she'd been having strange dreams. Dreams of being filmed. Dreams of someone standing in her hallway at night holding a camera. Yesterday, I checked Sarah's phone when she was in the shower. She'd taken a selfie with her sister. Just a casual photo, nothing special. But when I zoomed in on the background, I could see it. A figure standing by the window, holding a camera. It's in every photo now, every background. Sometimes close, sometimes far away, but always there, always filming. Sarah hasn't noticed yet. I haven't told her. What would be the point? Last night I dreamed I was watching footage again, but this time I recognized the perspective. I was seeing through my own eyes, but from outside myself, as if I were watching a recording of my life as it happened. I watched myself wake up, brush my teeth, eat breakfast, all from a position just behind and to the left of my own head. When I woke up, I checked my reflection in the mirror, really looked at myself for the first time in weeks. My eyes looked wrong. Not quite focused. Not quite present. Like I was there, but also somewhere else, watching from a distance. I think I understand now what happens to people who become obsessed with the footage. They don't just record the phenomenon. Eventually, they become part of it. They start to slip out of the world to exist more in the recorded version than in reality. I'm writing this down because soon I don't think I'll be able to. I can feel it happening, the slippage, the distance growing between me and the world. I look at my hands and they seem unfamiliar, like I'm watching someone else's hands type these words. Sarah is talking to me, but her voice sounds like it's coming from very far away, like I'm hearing it played back through speakers. Sometimes I catch myself standing very still without meaning to, just standing, motionless, watching, observing, recording. I don't have a camera anymore, but I don't think I need one. The figure in the footage was never trying to capture us. It was trying to show us what we would become. What happens when you stare too long into the gap between observation and reality, between the moment and its recording. We weren't being haunted by something from Mirror Lake. We were being shown our future selves, already lost in the footage, already part of the phenomenon. Sarah is crying. She's saying my name, asking me what's wrong, why I'm standing so still, why I won't look away from the wall. But her voice sounds like playback, like audio separate from video, like something recorded and played back a fraction of a second out of sync. I need to tell her something important, but I can't remember what. Something about the footage, something about coming home, something about... The timestamp on my thoughts says it's 3:47 a.m., but I'm not sure what that means anymore. I'm not sure when the recording started or when it will end. I'm not sure if I'm the one watching or the one being watched. Sarah is screaming now, calling her sister, saying something about my eyes, about how I'm looking at her. But I don't understand what she means. I'm just standing here, just observing, just recording, just like the figure in the footage, just like I always was, just like I always will be. The camera is rolling. It's always rolling. And somewhere in footage I'll never see, a figure that looks exactly like me is standing in someone else's background, holding nothing in its hands, watching them through eyes that have become cameras. The lens is always open. The recording never stops, and I can't remember what it was like to be the one behind the camera instead of in front of it. My name is Marcus Webb, or at least, I think that's what it used to be. The timestamp keeps counting, and I keep watching, and somewhere someone else is watching me. Forever. Story 4. My name is Noah Reed. I'm writing this from a motel in Durango, Colorado. 3 days after we left the campground. My hands are still shaking. We arrived at Crow's Nest RV Park on October 12, 2023. It's tucked into a valley about 40 miles outside Telluride, off Highway 145. The kind of place that doesn't show up on Google Maps unless you zoom in really close. My wife Jennifer found it on some RV forum, 5 stars, quiet and peaceful, perfect for families. We'd been planning this trip for months. Our daughters, Mia and Sophie, were 7 and 9. Fall break, 2 weeks of homeschooling on the road, hiking, campfires, the whole Norman Rockwell fantasy. The park had maybe 20 sites total, half of them empty when we pulled in around 3 in the afternoon. The owner, a woman named Carol with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, met us at the office. She was pleasant enough, gave us our paperwork, pointed us towards Site 14. "You folks are lucky," she said. "We're closing for the season next week. Gets too cold up here." The site was level, backed up against a line of aspens that were starting to turn. Jennifer was happy with it immediately. She always handles the hookups, water, electric, sewage. I'm useless with that stuff. The girls helped me set up the outdoor chairs while Jennifer worked. "Can we explore?" Mia asked. Stay where I can see you, Jennifer said without looking up. They ran off toward the playground near the front of the park. I could hear their voices carrying back high and excited. That first night was normal. We grilled hamburgers. The girls roasted marshmallows. Around 9, we put them to bed in the back room of the RV, and Jennifer and I sat outside with a bottle of wine. The temperature had dropped fast once the sun went down. I could see our breath. This is nice, Jennifer said. It is. I'm glad we did this. We'd been having problems. Nothing catastrophic. Just the slow erosion that happens after 12 years of marriage. Work stress, money stress, the constant background noise of raising kids. This trip was supposed to help. 2 weeks away from everything. I woke up around 2 in the morning to use the bathroom. When I came back out, I noticed something on the picnic table outside. I could see it through the window, a small shape, dark against the wood. I almost woke Jennifer, but decided not to. Probably just something that had blown over from another site. I made a mental note to check it in the morning and went back to sleep. The next day was Saturday. We drove into Telluride, walked around the shops, got lunch. The girls were excited about everything. Sophie bought a keychain shaped like a mountain. Mia wanted hot chocolate even though it wasn't that cold yet. We got back to the RV around 4. That's when I remembered the thing on the picnic table. It was still there. A stuffed rabbit, maybe 8 inches tall, gray fabric with black button eyes. Old, worn. One ear was torn nearly off. Where did this come from? I asked Jennifer. She was unloading groceries from the back of the truck. What? This rabbit, it was here this morning. She came over, looked at it. Maybe one of the girls left it out. Girls, I called. Did you leave this outside? They came tumbling out of the RV. Mia saw the rabbit first. That's not ours, she said. Are you sure? Dad, we don't have any stuffed animals with us. Mom said we couldn't bring any. This was true. We'd argued about it before leaving. Limited space. Maybe it fell out of someone's RV when they left, Jennifer said. Just throw it away. I picked it up. It was heavier than I expected, dense with old stuffing. The fabric was dirty, stained in places. I walked it over to the dumpster near the bathhouse and tossed it in. Sunday morning, it was back on the picnic table. Same position, same rabbit. I stared at it for a full minute before calling Jennifer over. Okay, that's weird, she said. Did you take it out of the trash? Why would I do that? Girls? They both shook their heads. Sophie looked nervous. Someone's messing with us, I said. Jennifer picked up the rabbit, examined it. It's probably just some kid playing a prank. There's that family in Site 12 with the 2 boys. They looked like teenagers. Still, I'll go ask Carol if she knows anything about it. She came back 20 minutes later. Carol said she hasn't seen anyone near our site, but she did say something strange. What? Apparently the people who were in this site before us left really suddenly, like packed up in the middle of the night and drove off. Carol seemed pretty annoyed about it. They didn't even check out properly. When was this? 2 days before we arrived. I looked at the rabbit. You think they left this? Maybe. Or maybe they left because of it. We both tried to laugh, but it didn't quite work. This time I took the rabbit to the dumpster behind the office, a good quarter mile from our site. I buried it under a garbage bag full of trash. Monday morning, it was on the picnic table again. Jennifer saw it first. I heard her swear. She rarely swears. And I came outside to find her standing perfectly still, staring at it. This isn't funny anymore, she said. The girls were still asleep. We stood there in the cold morning air, watching the rabbit like it might move. I'm going to find out who's doing this, I said. I spent the next hour walking around the campground. There were only 6 other occupied sites. Site 12 had the family Jennifer mentioned, a mom, dad, and 2 boys who looked about 15 and 16. I introduced myself, made small talk, casually mentioned finding a stuffed rabbit on our picnic table. Oh yeah, the dad said. That's weird. You guys wouldn't know anything about it? Nope, we keep to ourselves mostly. The mom looked uncomfortable. Tom, maybe we should tell them. Tell us what? I asked. Tom glanced at his wife, then back at me. It's probably nothing, but we've been hearing things at night. Scratching sounds, like something walking around the RV. We checked for animals, the mom added quickly. Raccoons or whatever. There's nothing there. Maybe it's related to your rabbit thing, Tom said. I don't know. Carol's a nice lady, but this place gives me the creeps. We're leaving tomorrow instead of Thursday. I talked to 3 other campers. An elderly couple in a van who'd only arrived that morning. A solo guy and a truck camper who seemed annoyed by my questions. A woman in her 30s with a dog who said she'd been hearing the scratching sounds too. It started 3 nights ago, she said. Right after those people in 14 left. People in 14? Yeah, the site you're in. Young couple, no kids. They'd been here about a week. Then one morning their RV was just gone. Carol was pissed. Back at our site, Jennifer had thrown the rabbit in the trash again. We didn't talk about it much for the rest of the day. We took the girls on a hike up to Bridal Veil Falls. Mia complained about her feet hurting. Sophie wanted to know if there were bears, normal kid stuff, normal afternoon. That night after the girls were asleep, Jennifer and I sat in the RV with the lights off watching the windows. "This is ridiculous," she whispered. "We're acting paranoid. Someone is putting that rabbit on our table. I want to know who." We sat there for 2 hours. Nothing happened. Around midnight, Jennifer went to bed. I stayed up, reading on my phone, checking the window every few minutes. At 2:47 a.m., I saw movement outside. I stood up slowly, pressed my face to the window. In the moonlight, I could see a figure near the picnic table. Small, child-sized. I grabbed my flashlight and went outside. The cold hit me immediately. I'd forgotten to grab a jacket. I turned on the flashlight, swept it across the campsite. Nothing. No one. But there on the picnic table, perfectly centered, was the rabbit. I walked over to it, my breath making clouds in the beam of the flashlight. When I picked it up, something fell out of it, something that had been hidden inside the torn ear. A piece of paper, folded small. I unfolded it with shaking hands. 5 words in pencil, handwriting that looked like a child's. "Don't let them see you alone." I took the note inside, woke Jennifer. She read it 3 times. "We're leaving," she said. "Right now. It's 3 in the morning. The girls are asleep. I don't care. We're leaving." "Jennifer, someone is just trying to scare us. It's probably those teenage boys. Read that note again and tell me it was written by teenage boys." I looked at the handwriting. She was right. It looked like something Sophie might write. "Tomorrow," I said. "First thing tomorrow, we'll pack up and leave. But we're not waking the girls up in the middle of the night and freaking them out." Jennifer didn't like it, but she agreed. Neither of us slept. We sat at the table, lights on, watching the windows until dawn. Tuesday morning, I started unhooking the RV. Jennifer made breakfast, got the girls dressed. We told them we'd decided to move on to a different campground, somewhere with better hiking. They didn't question it. I was disconnecting the water line when Carol appeared. "Leaving already?" she asked. "I thought you folks had the site through next week." "Change of plans," I said, not looking at her. "Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Did something happen?" Jennifer came outside then, carrying a garbage bag. She stopped when she saw Carol. "We've been having some strange experiences," Jennifer said carefully. Carol's expression didn't change. "Strange how? Someone keeps leaving a stuffed rabbit on our picnic table, and last night there was a note." "What kind of note?" Jennifer glanced at me. I pulled the paper out of my pocket, handed it to Carol. She read it, handed it back. "I see. Do you know anything about this?" I asked. Carol was quiet for a long moment, then she said, "The people who were here before you, did anyone tell you about them?" "Just that they left suddenly. They had a daughter, 8 years old, sweet kid. She had a stuffed rabbit she carried everywhere." Carol paused. "On their 5th night here, the daughter disappeared. They found her about a half-mile into the woods. She was just sitting there. Wouldn't talk, wouldn't respond. They packed up and left that same night. The mom called me later, said the girl still hadn't spoken, said she just sits in her room holding that rabbit." My mouth went dry. "When did this happen?" 2 weeks ago. "Carol," Jennifer said slowly, "the rabbit we've been finding, is it the same one?" "I wouldn't know. I never saw it up close." "But these people left," I said. "They took their daughter. How could the rabbit be here?" Carol looked at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. "I have no idea. But I've been running this park for 15 years and I've learned not to ask too many questions about things I can't explain." She walked away, leaving us standing there. "Start the truck," Jennifer said. It took us another 40 minutes to finish packing up. I was coiling the electric cable when I heard Mia scream. I dropped everything and ran toward the sound. She was near the edge of our site, pointing at the ground. "Daddy, look!" There were footprints in the dirt, small, child-sized, bare feet. They circled our RV, went around the picnic table several times, then disappeared into the line of aspens. "Mia, get in the truck. Now." But now, Sophie was already in the truck. Jennifer had started the engine. I grabbed Mia's hand and practically dragged her over. Once both girls were inside with Jennifer, I went back for the last few items. That's when I saw it. The rabbit was sitting on the driver's seat of my truck. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, not moving. The door was locked. I knew it was locked because I'd locked it myself that morning. But the rabbit was inside. I unlocked the door, grabbed the rabbit. It felt warm, like it had been held recently. I threw it as far as I could into the woods, got in the truck, and we left. We drove straight through to Durango, didn't stop except for gas. The girls kept asking questions we didn't answer. Jennifer white-knuckled the steering wheel of the RV behind me the entire way. At the motel, after we'd checked in and got the girls settled with a movie, Jennifer and I sat in the parking lot. "We need to talk about what happened," she said. I don't know what happened. That rabbit was inside your locked truck, Noah. I know. So either someone broke into your truck without leaving any sign, or what? She didn't answer. That was 3 days ago. We're still at the motel. We were supposed to continue the trip, but neither of us can bring ourselves to get back on the road. The girls think we're just taking a break. This morning, Mia asked if she could go to the ice machine. I said yes, watched her walk down the hallway. She came back 2 minutes later holding something. Dad, look what I found. It was sitting on top of the ice machine, she said, just sitting there. I don't need to tell you what it was. Jennifer saw it and locked herself in the bathroom. I could hear her crying. I told the girls to stay in the room, went downstairs to the front desk. The clerk, a kid maybe 20 years old, looked up from his phone. Has anyone else been staying in room 237? I asked. Just you folks. Are you sure? No one came by, asked about us, anything like that? Nope. Why? I didn't answer. I went back to the room. The rabbit was sitting on the bed now. I'd left it on the table. I'm sure I left it on the table. Tonight after the girls were asleep, I unzipped the rabbit's back seam. I don't know why. I just needed to see inside. There was stuffing, old and yellowed, and underneath, something else. A Polaroid photograph. It showed a young girl, maybe 8, standing in front of an RV. She was smiling, holding a gray stuffed rabbit. The photo looked recent. The trees in the background were showing fall colors. I turned it over. On the back, in the same childish handwriting as the note, it said, "She's looking for friends," I showed Jennifer. She stared at it for a long time. "We need to go to the police," she said. "And tell them what? That a stuffed rabbit is following us? This is from that girl, Noah, the one who disappeared in the woods. She's trying to tell us something. She's trying to scare us." "No." Jennifer's voice was shaking. "I think she's trying to warn us." I looked at the photo again. At the girl's smile, which didn't quite reach her eyes, at the way her hand gripped the rabbit, knuckles white. That was 6 hours ago. I've been typing this on my phone while Jennifer sleeps, or pretends to sleep. The girls are in the other bed, Sophie snoring softly, Mia curled around a pillow. I keep checking the room. The rabbit is still on the table where I left it. I put it in a plastic bag from the front desk, knotted it shut. I don't know why. It won't matter. Tomorrow we're going to drive home. We've talked about it. Colorado is over. This whole trip is over. Jennifer wants to get the RV parked in our driveway and never leave home again. And honestly, I don't blame her. But I keep thinking about that note. Don't let them see you alone. Them, not her. Them. And I keep thinking about the footprints circling our RV, how many times they went around. I counted later, from memory, 37 complete circles, like something was trying to get in or trying to keep something else out. The temperature has dropped tonight. I can hear the heater running in the motel room, but I'm still cold. Sophie just rolled over in her sleep, said something I couldn't make out. For a second I thought she said she's here, but that's crazy, she's dreaming. I just checked the parking lot. Both vehicles are there. Everything looks normal. The highway is quiet at this hour, just the occasional truck passing by, headlights sweeping across the window. Jennifer is sitting up now. I didn't hear her move, but when I looked over, she was sitting up in bed, staring at the wall. "Jennifer?" She doesn't answer. Her eyes are open, but she's not blinking. "Jennifer, are you awake?" She turns to look at me, and for just a second, less than a second, her smile is wrong. Too wide, like someone who's never smiled before trying to imitate the expression. Then she blinks and it's normal Jennifer again, looking confused. "What?" she says. "Why are you staring at me? You were sitting up. I was sleeping. You were staring at the wall. I was sleeping, Noah." Jesus. She lies back down, pulls the covers up. Within minutes, her breathing is even again. I'm looking at the plastic bag on the table. I can see the outline of the rabbit through the white plastic. I need to check something. I just counted. There are 4 of us in this room. 2 adults, 2 children. All accounted for. So why are there 5 shadows on the wall? I'm going to wake Jennifer. We're leaving now. I don't care that it's 4 in the morning. We're leaving right now. But first I need to check something. I need to look at Mia and Sophie, really look at them, because I just realized something about that photograph. About the girl holding the rabbit. She looked like Mia. Older maybe, but she looked exactly like Mia. And the RV in the background of the photo. I'm looking at it again now, zooming in on my phone. The RV in the background is the same color as ours. Same make and model. I'm walking over to the girls' bed now. I need to see them. I need to see their faces. Sophie is fine. She's fine. She's sleeping normally, but Mia's eyes are open. She's staring at the ceiling. "Mia," I whisper. She doesn't respond. "Mia, are you awake?" Her hand is under the covers, clutching something. I can see the outline of it. Small, rabbit-sized. "Mia, what are you holding?" She turns her head to look at me. Her smile is wrong. "She says we can play together now," Mia whispers. She's been alone for so long, but now she has me. I pull the covers back. She's holding the rabbit. The plastic bag is still on the table, but somehow the rabbit is in her hands. She comes back every time, Mia says in a voice that doesn't sound like hers. You can't throw her away. She always comes back. That's the game. I'm shaking her now, trying to wake her up, but her eyes won't close, won't blink. Jennifer is awake, screaming. Sophie is crying. I'm holding Mia, but she won't stop smiling, won't stop gripping that rabbit. There's someone knocking on the door now. The manager probably, because of the noise. But I can't answer it. I can't let go of Mia. If I let go of her, I don't know what will happen. She wants to play, Mia says again. She wants friends. She's been looking for friends since she woke up in the woods alone and her parents didn't believe her anymore. What are you talking about? I'm sobbing now. Mia, please wake up. I am awake, Daddy. I'm awake for the first time. The knocking is getting louder. Sophie is screaming. Jennifer is trying to call 911, but her hands are shaking too hard to dial. And Mia is humming something. A lullaby I don't recognize. The rabbit's button eyes are reflecting the motel lights. Black, empty, watching all of us. Tomorrow we go to the next place, Mia says. She knows where. She's been to all of them. Every campground, every park. Looking for friends who can see her. Looking for families who will keep her. What happened to the other girl, I ask. The real girl in the photograph? Mia's smile gets wider. She's still there, Daddy. In the woods. Still sitting. Still waiting. Still alone. I'm typing this with one hand because I won't let go of Mia with the other. Jennifer is on the phone with someone now, maybe the police, maybe the hospital. Sophie won't stop crying. The manager is threatening to call the cops if we don't open the door. But all I can think about is tomorrow, about packing up and driving home, about putting that rabbit somewhere it can't follow us. Except I know now that it doesn't matter. We can't throw it away. We can't leave it behind. Because the rabbit isn't the problem. The rabbit is just how she finds you. And once she finds you, once she decides you're going to be her friend, she never lets go. Mia just squeezed my hand. Her grip is stronger than it should be. Don't be scared, Daddy, she says. It doesn't hurt. She promises it doesn't hurt. I'm looking at the photograph again. At the girl who looks like my daughter. At her smile that doesn't reach her eyes. At the date printed in the corner, October 12th, 2023. The day we arrived at Crow's Nest. But we just arrived 3 days ago, didn't we? Jennifer is screaming something about the calendar on her phone, about the date being wrong. But I'm not listening anymore. I'm watching Mia's reflection in the dark motel window. Watching the way it moves differently than she does. Watching the way there are now 2 little girls sitting on the bed, identical, holding hands. One of them is my daughter. The other is holding the rabbit. And I don't know which is which anymore. The knocking has stopped. The manager has stopped yelling. Sophie has stopped crying. Everything is quiet now. Mia, both of them, are looking at me. Smiling that wrong smile. Are you ready to play, Daddy? They say in unison. The game never ends. That's what makes it fun. I'm still holding her hand, or I think I am. It's hard to tell in the dark. Hard to tell which hand is real and which is something else. Jennifer has stopped calling. She's just sitting on the bed, staring at something I can't see. Her phone is still in her hand, but the screen is black. Jennifer? I call. She doesn't answer. And when I walk over to her, when I touch her shoulder, she turns to look at me with eyes that are a little too wide, a smile that's a little too perfect. Oh, she says, she found you too. I'm writing this because I need someone to know what happened. I need someone to understand. If you're reading this, if you're thinking about going to Crow's Nest RV Park or any of the other places on that list, the list I found folded inside the rabbit's other ear, don't. Just don't. The list has 37 locations, campgrounds, RV parks, state forests, all across Colorado, Utah, Wyoming, places where families go to get away, to reconnect, to escape their normal lives, places where she's waiting. I don't know what she is. I don't know if she was ever human. Maybe she was the girl in the photograph. Maybe she was something else that took the girl's shape. It doesn't matter now. What matters is that she's collecting us, one family at a time, one child at a time, and the rabbit is how she marks you, how she knows you're hers. Sophie just sat up in bed. She's looking at me now and her eyes are clear and normal and terrified. Daddy, who are all those people outside? She asks. I look at the window. In the reflection I can see them, dozens of them. Children and adults standing in a perfect circle around the motel. All of them are smiling. All of them are holding something. Gray rabbits with button eyes. Daddy, I'm scared, Sophie says, and she sounds like herself, completely herself, and I start to go to her. But then I see her reflection in the window. See the way she's smiling just like the others. See the rabbit clutched in her hands. It's okay to be scared. The thing that looks like Sophie says. She says being scared makes the game more fun. I'm backing toward the door now. I need to leave. I need to get out of this room, out of this motel, out of Colorado. I need to run. But when I reach for the doorknob, something stops me. A hand on my wrist, small, cold. Mia is standing next to me, or something wearing Mia's face. "Where are you going, Daddy?" she asks. "We're just about to start playing. Let me go." "We can't." She says we have to stay together now. Families should stay together. That's what makes them families. I'm pulling away, but her grip is too strong. Impossibly strong. And Jennifer is standing now, walking toward me, and Sophie is getting out of bed, and they're all smiling that terrible smile. "She's been alone for so long," Mia says. "Decades, maybe. Wandering from place to place, looking for people who can see her. And when she finds them, when they take the rabbit, they become part of her game. Forever." "The girl in the woods," I say, "the one who wouldn't speak, she got away." Mia's head tilts. "Did she? Or is she still sitting there, still playing, still smiling, still waiting for someone to find her and take her place?" The motel room is getting smaller. The walls are closer than they were. The ceiling is lower. Or maybe I'm just falling, dissolving, becoming part of whatever this is. "Don't fight it," Jennifer says, reaching for me. "It's easier if you don't fight." I'm fighting anyway. I'm screaming, pulling away, grabbing for the door. The metal is cold under my palm. I twist the handle. The door opens. They're standing outside. Dozens of them. Families. Children. All holding rabbits. All smiling. They part to let someone through. It's a girl, maybe 8 years old, with Mia's face. But older. Not the girl from the photograph. Someone else. Someone who came before. She's holding a rabbit that looks ancient, the fabric worn to nothing in places, the button eyes barely hanging on. "Hello, Noah," she says, and her voice is like wind through dead trees. "We've been waiting for you." "She's been waiting for you." "Who?" I ask, even though I don't want to know. The girl's smile grows impossibly wide. "All of us," she says, and then I understand. There is no she. There's no singular entity behind this. It's all of them. Every family, every child, every person who ever took the rabbit and played the game. They're all connected now. All one thing. Spreading from campground to campground, RV park to RV park, looking for new players. And we are the newest additions. Mia's hand is on my shoulder now. Jennifer's on my other arm. Sophie is hugging my leg. "It's okay, Daddy," they say together, their voices overlapping, harmonizing. "You don't have to be alone anymore. None of us do." That's what she promises. That's what she gives us. I'm trying to hold on to who I am. Noah Reed, 38 years old, software engineer, father of 2. But the edges are getting fuzzy. The memories are slipping away like water through fingers. When did we arrive at the campground? Was it 3 days ago? 3 weeks? 3 years? Have we always been here? The girl who looks like Mia steps closer. She hands me something. It's soft, worn, heavier than it should be. Another rabbit. "This one is for me." "Take it," all the voices say together. "Take it and join the game. Play with us forever." I'm reaching for it. I can't stop myself. My hand is moving on its own, fingers stretching toward the gray fabric. But then I hear something, a sound that cuts through everything else. A phone ringing. My phone in my pocket. I pull it out with my free hand. The screen shows a number I don't recognize. Local area code. I answer it. "Mr. Reed?" A woman's voice, official sounding. "This is Deputy Martinez with the Montrose County Sheriff's Office. Your credit card was flagged at this motel. Are you and your family all right?" I open my mouth to answer. To say yes, we're fine, everything is fine, we're just playing a game, but what comes out is, "Help us." The line goes quiet for a moment. "Sir, I need you to stay exactly where you are. Officers are en route to your location. Do not leave the room. They're all around us," I whisper. "All the families, all the children, they have rabbits, they're smiling." Another pause. "Sir, I need you to lock the door and stay inside. Do you understand?" I look around. The motel room is normal again. The walls are where they should be. Jennifer is asleep in bed. Sophie and Mia curled together in the other bed, all of them breathing normally. The parking lot outside is empty. No figures, no rabbits, and the plastic bag on the table is still knotted shut, the rabbit's outline visible through the white plastic. "I understand," I say, my voice shaking. "Officers will be there in 5 minutes. Stay on the line with me." I sit down on the edge of the bed, phone pressed to my ear, watching my family sleep. They look normal. Peaceful, the way they should, but I can still feel it. The weight of the rabbit that was in my hand, the cold touch of Mia's grip, the terrible smile on Jennifer's face. "Mr. Reed, are you still there?" "I'm here. Can you tell me what happened? Why did you call for help?" I try to explain. The words come out jumbled, confused. The campground, the rabbit, the note, the girl in the woods. It sounds insane even to me. "Sir, Have you or your family ingested anything unusual? Any mushrooms, berries, unfamiliar plants? No, this is real. This happened. I believe that you believe that, Mr. Reed. But I need you to stay calm. Help is almost there. Mia rolls over in her sleep. Her hand comes out from under the covers. She's holding the rabbit. The plastic bag is still on the table, still knotted shut, but Mia is holding the rabbit. She has it, I whisper into the phone. My daughter has the rabbit. Mr. Reed. I hang up. I walk over to Mia's bed, reach down to take the rabbit from her hand. Her eyes open. They're clear, confused, sleepy, normal. Daddy, what's wrong? Give me the rabbit, honey. What rabbit? I look at her hands. They're empty. But I saw it. I know I saw it. Never mind. Go back to sleep. Are you okay, Daddy? You look scared. I'm fine. Everything's fine. But it's not fine. Because I can feel it now. In my pocket. The weight of something that wasn't there before. I reach in, pull it out. The rabbit. Gray, worn, button eyes staring at nothing. There's a new note tucked inside the torn ear. I unfold it with shaking hands. 5 words in that same childish handwriting. The game has already started. And I understand now, really understand, what the girl meant. What all of them meant. The game isn't about being found. It's not about being chosen. The game is about realizing you were chosen a long time ago, and everything since then has been the game playing out. Every decision, every choice, every thought that you believed was your own. We didn't arrive at Crow's Nest 3 days ago. We arrived 37 days ago, or maybe 37 weeks or years. And we've been playing ever since, trapped in a loop that feels like 3 days but never ends. Arriving, finding the rabbit, leaving, arriving somewhere else, finding the rabbit again. Over and over. Forever. The families in the parking lot, they're us. All the versions of us from all the previous loops. Still smiling, still playing, still waiting for the next family to join. There's a knock on the door. Sheriff's office. Mr. Reed, we need you to open the door. I walk over, put my hand on the knob. Through the peephole I can see 2 deputies in uniform. They look normal, real, but I can also see what's behind them. The figures in the parking lot, the children with rabbits, all watching. Mr. Reed, please open the door. I open it. The deputies come in, look around. One of them checks on Jennifer and the girls. They're all sleeping peacefully. Sir, can you tell me what's going on? The first deputy asks. I hold up the rabbit. His expression changes, just slightly, just for a moment. Then he smiles. Oh, he says, that's nothing to worry about. Lots of people find those around here, tourist trinkets. Someone probably left it as a prank. You know what this is. I know it's late and you're tired and the altitude can play tricks on people who aren't used to it. The second deputy is at the window now, looking out. Clear outside, she says, but she doesn't sound right. Her voice has that same quality all the others had, that harmonizing echo. We're going to recommend you get some sleep, Mr. Reed. Everything will look better in the morning. We're leaving in the morning. Are you? The first deputy tilts his head. That's what they all say. I look at him, really look at him, at his smile that's just a little too wide, at the way he hasn't blinked since entering the room, at the bulge in his shirt pocket, rabbit-shaped. You're one of them, I whisper. We're all one of them, Mr. Reed. Eventually. That's how the game works. He steps closer. So does the second deputy. They're boxing me in, backing me toward the bed where my family sleeps. The girl in the woods, I say desperately. She got away. Did she? The deputy's smile grows. Or did she just start a new loop, found a new family, got them to come to Crow's Nest, watched them find the rabbit she left behind? That was 12 years ago, Mr. Reed. At least in this loop. She's had time to practice, time to learn, time to bring in more players. I'm against the bed now. I can feel Jennifer's warmth beside me. Hear Sophie's soft breathing. Mia's hand moves in sleep, reaches out, touches mine. Her hand is cold. It's your turn now, the deputy says. You get to be the one who warns the next family, who leaves notes, who circles their RV in the night, until they join too. No, you don't have a choice. You stopped having a choice the moment you touched the rabbit, the moment you read the note, the moment you let it into your thoughts. He's right. I know he's right. Because I can feel it now, spreading through me like cold water. The game, the rules, the purpose. I understand it all now. We collect families. We make them part of us. We spread from campground to campground, an ever-growing network of players, all connected through the rabbits, through the game. And the more who join, the stronger we become, the more real we become. Soon there will be enough of us that we won't need the campgrounds anymore. We'll be everywhere, everyone, all playing the same game, forever. The deputy holds out his hand. Give me the rabbit, Mr. Reed. Pass it on. Start your turn. I look at the rabbit in my hands, at its button eyes, at the torn ear where the notes hide. Behind me, I hear Jennifer sit up. Noah, she says, what's happening? I turn to look at her. She's awake, confused, scared, still herself. For now. Nothing, I say. Go back to sleep. But Sophie is sitting up too now, and Mia. All of them awake, all of them looking at me with those clear, frightened eyes, still themselves, still my family. The deputies are smiling. Choose, they say together. Keep playing or let them all become players. It's time. I look at my family, at my wife of 12 years, at my daughters who still believe I can protect them. I look at the rabbit in my hands, and I make my choice. I tear the rabbit apart. Stuffing explodes everywhere, old and yellowed. The button eyes fall to the floor. The torn fabric rips further, coming apart in my hands. No! The deputies lunge for me, but I'm faster. I throw the pieces toward the door, scatter them everywhere. For a moment, everything stops. The deputies freeze. Outside, the figures in the parking lot stop moving. Even the air seems to hold still. Then Jennifer screams. Not because of the deputies. Not because of anything outside. Because Mia is standing in the middle of the room, surrounded by torn bits of gray fabric, and she's smiling that terrible smile. You can't destroy her, Mia says in that voice that isn't hers. She's not in the rabbit. The rabbit is just the door. She's already inside. I watch in horror as Mia's hands move, gathering up the torn pieces. Within seconds, the rabbit is whole again, sitting in her palms, button eyes gleaming. See, Daddy? The game always wins, because the game isn't something you play. The game is what you become. The deputies are laughing now. Jennifer is backing away from Mia, from me, from everything. Sophie is crying, and I realize the truth. We never left the campground. We've been there this whole time. Trapped in Site 14, acting out this same scene over and over. The motel was just another loop, another variation, another way for the game to unfold. There is no escape. There never was. The only question is, how long until we accept it? How long until we smile? I'm looking at Mia now, really looking at her. She's still my daughter. I can see her in there, trapped behind that smile, screaming silently. And I realize, maybe that's the real horror. Maybe we don't become something else. Maybe we stay ourselves, fully aware, fully conscious, just trapped inside our own bodies while they play the game forever. Daddy, Mia says, holding out the rabbit. It's your turn now. Take it. I reach for it. What else can I do? My fingers touch the worn fabric, and I'm at the picnic table at Crow's Nest, the morning sun warm on my face. Jennifer is cooking breakfast. The girls are playing in the leaves. Everything is normal, perfect, except for the rabbit sitting on the table in front of me. Did you see this? I call to Jennifer. Someone left a stuffed rabbit. She comes over, looks at it. That's weird. Maybe throw it away? I pick it up. It's heavier than I expected, and I smile. Yeah, I say. I'll throw it away. But I won't. Because I know what I need to do now. I understand the game. I understand my role. I'm the one who starts the next loop. The one who leaves the warnings. The one who circles the RV at night until the next family comes. Until they take the rabbit, until they join the game. And then I'll move on to the next campground, the next RV park, the next site. Always moving, always playing, always smiling. Forever. My name is Noah Reed. This is my testimony. This is my warning. This is my invitation. If you're reading this, if you found this document, then you're probably already playing. You just don't know it yet. But you will. You will. Check your RV. Check your car. Check your pockets. Is there something there that wasn't before? Something small, gray, smiling? If there is, then congratulations. It's your turn now. The game never ends. That's what makes it fun. Note found on a laptop in room 237 of the Durango Motel, recovered by housekeeping staff on October 19, 2023. The Reed family checked out 3 days prior. When contacted, they claimed they'd had a wonderful vacation and couldn't wait to return to Colorado. When asked about any unusual experiences, Mr. Reed laughed and said, "Nothing we couldn't handle. Though my daughter did find this cute stuffed rabbit. She's been carrying it everywhere since we left." The family has not responded to follow-up questions.